Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hello. Welcome, everyone, to the Spotlight. It is Thursday, July 25th. Cody Rhodes is here with me.
I'm here. I can hear you
there's
still.
Stephen Jensen.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I had to throw on a quick Dave & Buster's shirt. Before me and Jeremy went live, it's all over the place. I was mixing up my morning G Fuel. Shout out to the homie Vinny Pacifico. And I spilled G Fuel powder all over the place. So I had to go change my shirt real quick. I was going to put my contacts in, but I knew I didn't have time. So welcome, everybody, to the Spotlight on Fightful. I'm Sticky and covered in G Fuel. Welcome.
Sticky Jensen.
How's it going, Jeremy?
Yes.
Yeah. It's all over the place.
Do you need to get cleaned up?
If you could hold me over for another about a minute, that'd be actually great.
Sure. Yeah. No problem.
Thanks. I'll be right back.
What a way to start the morning. Oh. So, Cody, what do you want to talk about? Usually Cody's very chatty, and for some reason, talking to me, you don't want to talk about anything. Got his own podcast, does all these interviews now, comes on our show, doesn't have anything to say, just sits there with his goofy looking smile and his Joe Burrow haircut, and has nothing to say.
Bro, I have wireless headphones and I can hear you.
That's fine. I'll bury Cody Rhodes when you're in front of me. I don't need you to be away for me to do this.
True. I'm almost back.
Live changing updates from Stephen Jensen.
Yes. Say something. Talk about wrestling.
Why? That sounds awful. That sounds terrible. Cody's been interviewed many times on Fightful by Sean.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for reminding me about that. It's a pretty good feeling when it's a pretty good feeling whenever I see, Cody Rhodes doing interviews with everybody besides us. But that doesn't make me not a fan. So I'm back. I should be good for the rest of the show, I think. But yeah, Joe, Cody has done some Fightful interviews with Sean. So congrats, Sean.
You don't sound jealous or bitter at all.
I'm actually not. I'm happy that Sean's able to get him, and we've gotten some really good, Sean's broke some big news of his. So I'm obviously happy about that. But I'm not going to lie. I get a little salty sometimes when I see some of the people that are getting to interview him and we don't. I mean, not going to lie, but it is what it is.
Fair. All right. Do you want to, how are you, Jensen?
Doing okay. The G Fuel is pretty watered down because most of it's actually on me or on the table, but got a little bit in here. So, outside of that, things are good, man. I'm having a pretty good morning. So, found out there's another leak in my ceiling though. That was kind of a bummer, but not as bad as the first one. Kind of been an up and down week, but it's payday tomorrow for the shoot job. So I'm happy about that. And we have a lot of good wrestling to talk about and a good interview for y'all. At the end of this show, we're going to be interviewing, we already did interview Jameson Shook, which y'all will be hearing it. So good stuff on today's show.
Let's not lie and say we have a lot of good wrestling to talk about. We have wrestling to talk about.
We had interesting stuff to talk about.
Maybe.
Man, Maybe. I worse luck lately with these energy drinks and stuff. I don't know if you remember, but for a while there was an arc where Woo Energy was exploding on me every day. So
I do. I don't know why you were drinking that. That was the biggest.
The Woo Energy was a gift because it was around the time of my birthday. Somebody bought it almost as a gag gift. They were like, well, might as well try it, And I was like, all right. So they got me a 6-pack of it. and at least 3 of them like just massively exploded all over me. One of them was in my car. I sent you a picture after it happened. I was about to walk into Five Below. And I like to frequent Five Below
here.
Yeah, Five Below is great. I like to get candy there and some cheap action figures and stuff, and t-shirts. Because they got some pretty good like $5 t-shirts sometimes, like Ninja Turtles and random stuff like that. Bought a Hannah Montana shirt. After my Woo energy blew up all over me, I needed a shirt to wear. So I popped a Woo right before I walked into Five Below, and I was covered in Woo inside Five Below. So I bought myself a really cheap shirt at Five Below to cover up the Woo that was all over me. So yeah, I'm 36. So these are, I guess, pretty minimal problems, I guess, to really have in the grand scheme of things. But
you drinking Woo is not good.
No, one there is that. That's not even like a part of AEW anymore, is it?
No,
I don't think that it's even like. I don't think they sponsor. I don't think Flair even like on contract with them anymore or anything.
No.
So yeah, I mean, that was basically for Sting at the end of the day, right? I mean, I can respect that though. You know, Come on. I mean, nobody has to explain to me the reasons you wouldn't want, to see Ric Flair. There's a lot of them, but yeah, the Woo energy was not good. It didn't even taste good. I'm not sponsored. This is not a hashtag ad. Like, I have no reason or incentive.
You're burying it, if anything.
Yeah. I'm definitely not endorsing it.
Yeah.
So
let's get started on.
Yeah, let's talk about wrestling, dude.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
I guess I should say, leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a statement, a question, comment statement, and a super chat if you would like to do that as well. I always forget those things. But yes, do all those things. It all helps the channel. It all helps us out. AEW Dynamite last night. Blood and guts. Yeah. Team AEW was victorious over the Elite. They ended up adding some type of stakes to it. In Darby Allin got a TNT title shot. So good on him. I don't know who else benefited from this, but Darby Allin got a TNT title shot. What did you think of the match and the finish?
So I've had some mixed feelings on it, as I'd imagine most people probably do. I thought the actual match was pretty good. Like, they did a lot of entertaining stuff throughout the match. So, like, I want to give them credit where it's due. A lot of really cool spots. The main one probably being Darby, climbing to the top and doing the coffin drop, through the table off the top of the cage and everything. That was really cool. There was really good spots. I mean, the whole run of Swerve with the staple gun and all that stuff he was doing. I mean, like, there was good spots. There was good moments. There's a lot of heat and stuff like on Hangman and for like Hangman versus Swerve, which is a little, I'm not going to necessarily complain about this, but it's just worth mentioning that it is a little strange how like Danielson won the tournament a couple weeks ago. He's kind of been an afterthought, at least in my opinion, the last couple of weeks, because like people are thinking more about like Swerve and Hangman, but obviously Danielson's the title match in a few weeks at their biggest show of the year. So like that's a little weird kind of how that's all playing out, because I feel like more people are still like locked in and interested in Swerve and Hangman than Swerve and Danielson. And that's not to say that I think that Danielson has a really good shot of winning the world title at Wembley, for a variety of reasons. So, it's just kind of worth, just kind of stuff that I was thinking while I was watching the show. Also got to mention Jack Perry getting hit with that chair towards the end of the match when like he was just completely open chair shot when he was, handcuffed or whatever to the cage. That was gnarly. That chair shot to the head. But yeah, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, and there's going to be people who definitely disagree, and I understand. Like the purist, old school people. I'm one of y'all to a big degree. I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years at this point, so like I get a lot. I get the perspective that people against this idea would have, because they like the old school war games. But I've always said that there should be like an elimination aspect to it or something, just because it's like, it just feels like they're killing time until everyone's in the match. And then once everyone's in the match technically starts. And I feel like do you think it would be a good idea, or would you want to see, like, what if everyone just started in the match at the beginning? Like, you have 2 rings, you have one team in one ring, one team in the other ring, and everyone it's just an all-out war, but it's elimination style. I feel like that would be more entertaining, at least for what I would want to see in a match like this, because then you have like one definitive winner at the end, or you could, like Survivor Series, you might have multiple people who survive the whole thing, but it's a fair start, 5-on-5, and like, you know, you can actually have stakes before like a half hour into the match. But so that's just how I feel about that. But that's just my own personal preference. And then as far as the end of the match, I'm getting kind of tired. And this isn't even necessarily AEW's fault, because this isn't just AEW. WWE recently did this with Cody and AJ Styles in their I Quit match as well. But there's been a lot of these, I feel like, lately where it's like, the people aren't getting like beat up to the point of quitting. They're like quitting because they're trying to save somebody else from getting hurt worse. It happened with Mance and Effie also in GCW in their I Quit match, where Alley Catch was going to get the power drill. So Effie quit to save Alley Catch. Once again, saw it with AJ and Cody in their I Quit match, and then saw it here with them basically saving Jack from getting lit on fire. They quit so that wouldn't happen, and also gave a TNT title match. So I want your thoughts on this, because I know I'm starting to ramble a bit, but like, that's just overall some points throughout this thing that I'd highlight would be some of the big spots were really cool. I thought the match itself was actually pretty entertaining. I'd personally like to see a change up in the format of Blood and Guts, and kind of tired of this type of finish, but at least Darby's getting a title match out of it, even though he's held that title multiple times.
I thought overall the match was very good. It's not that I didn't have too much interest going into it. I didn't fully love the build going into it. I thought not having any stakes was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
You know, the elites, or not the elite, Team AEW being like, we're fighting for the spirit of AEW. Like, all right, cool.
Right.
Glad you guys are defending the spirit of AEW. The elite weren't fighting really for anything, and they were the ones who issued the challenge. Like, they're still EVPs, they're all still champions at the end of the day. So the build wasn't great, but the actual match was very good. You've always been a proponent of the elimination style thing with war games. I like your idea of everybody starts in the match and then you can go with an elimination from there. I think that helps protect some people, because I think that's the reason why they don't do this elimination style thing, is like, all right, who's going to take losses in this?
Yeah. And
but
also the odds can get kind of screwed up too, obviously, if like it's 2-on-1 and then 3-on-1 and then 4-on-1, you know what I mean? If like you get the advantage early.
But that's how you can protect people. Like, you don't want Swerve to really take a loss, but if he takes a loss and it's 4-on-1,
right,
it's a little bit more understandable. So I can understand. So I can get that, and that does help protect in some ways, because I think you can beat the Acclaimed fine. You can, like Mark Briscoe, I know he's the ROH champion, and he's got a match literally tomorrow. So maybe you don't want to beat him. But again, if the odds are against, it's the protection's a little bit easier in that sense. So that'd be a good switch up if they ever wanted to try something different. I can like that. And you can still do the staggered entrance like there. And you can still kind of protect people, because then it's like 2-on-1, and maybe you can beat somebody, and then the team who has the advantage really has the advantage if they pin somebody 2-on-1. So yeah.
Well, that's also a big part. Like what you just said is like kind of the biggest reason I feel like elimination should be a possibility, because otherwise the man advantage isn't really, there's not really an advantage to that. Like, because at the end of the day, the match doesn't technically start until everyone's in the match. So really, all you're really thinking is like psychologically speaking, like, or theoretically or whatever, like, okay, in theory, the people who started the match should be the most beat up by the time the match starts. Therefore, maybe be the most likely to get pinned or to quit or whatever, right? So, so I get that, but also like it's pro wrestling, so you can just make this however you want at the end of the day. So like, I think there's a lot of stories that could be told by like, you know, the heel team, which pretty much always has the advantage in these kind of matches. You don't even need to do the coin toss. You just know the heels are going to have the advantage. So but like, I just think it'd make for a lot of cool stories. Like imagine, you know, just hypothetically, like the Young Bucks are the first two in for the Elite, and Max Caster is the first one in for the Acclaimed, and Max Caster winds up getting eliminated by the Young Bucks. So now it's like, you know, it was a 2-on-1 scenario, but then like the baby faces slowly work their way back in to like even it up or maybe take the advantage themselves. I just feel like it would just be way more. My biggest gripe, honestly, with it is just the fact that I don't want to say like they're just killing time for a half hour while people enter the match, because like they're out there busting their asses, like they're out there working and hurting each other, but I think y'all know what I mean. It's like, imagine if every match you watched, every wrestling match you watched, you knew it wasn't going to end for the first half hour, like, you know, you just knew that going.
Yeah, we've had 2 straight weeks of that.
What with the title match or the MJF and Ospreay and stuff. Well, but that wasn't advertised as like. But you know what I'm saying though. Imagine every match, like, because you'd go into it being like, okay, cool. Like I know nothing's gonna actually. There's not gonna be a resolution of this within the first half hour, so you're kind of like, it's just in the back of your mind. So, anyways, I honestly don't want to harp on that too much, because like it was a great match, and it's not like this is like a terrible match format. I do enjoy Blood and Guts. I enjoy War Games. I just feel like there's little things that they could potentially tweak that would just make it a lot more entertaining and keep people engaged throughout the whole match, rather than like just the second half of the match.
And look, it's nothing wrong with trying something new. We've seen this format and this style for the 80s was the first one. I know it went away for a little while, but now AEW does it every year. WWE has been doing it every year, whether it was NXT or WWE. So we've seen the format for a while now. I think it'd be okay if they tried to switch it up and tried something new out of this. I'm with you on the finish in that it's getting very overplayed. I mean, they've done this finish in AEW before with the, I'm going to toss him off the top of the cage. No, okay, I quit. Don't do that. And then he thought, MJF tossed Jericho anyway. So it's not even a new finish in the AEW realm of I'm going to quit to basically save this person from taking a beating. And, again, Darby got a TNT title shot out of it. Glad he won something out of this whole thing. But it's a finish we've seen. And it made sense to save Jack Perry. Like, I think the Young Bucks quitting was kind of always one of the scenarios. A scenario I pitched yesterday was Max Caster quitting to save Bowens, or just quitting in general. Like, it doesn't even have to be to save somebody. It could just be like he's getting his ass beat and he quits. And then Billy Gunn's mad at him. Bowens is like disappointed, but Caster is saying like, we still got a tag team title shot. I was thinking about that. Like I want to make sure we're good for that. Like we were at a disadvantage. We were at a full on disadvantage. We were getting our ass beat. Maybe the baby faces were handcuffed. So you kind of flip what they did in the match. And then it leads to Caster actually turning heel on Bowens. And then you actually split the Acclaim. That was my pitch before the match happened. Obviously that's not happening now, but at least then it wouldn't have been full on, I'm going to just save. I'm going to do it. I'm going to quit to save. It would have been, I'm going to quit because we're getting our ass beat and we don't have a real way to win this match. And I am thinking about my future. I'm not just going to save him from further damage. I'm saving all of us from further damage.
Yeah.
You're quitting because you're losing, which we haven't seen in a while, it feels like.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that would have totally worked, and it would have been different than, like you mentioned, like we've been seeing so often. I also wanted to just quickly mention there was a chat I'll put it on the screen from Delayed Grats. Thanks for everybody, by the way, who's in the chat. We try to keep up with everything. If you have a super chat, we'll make sure to put it on the screen. We'll make sure to, answer your question or read your statement and all that stuff as well. Appreciate that. But we appreciate everybody who's just even in here being, interactive. So please let us know what you're thinking. Delayed Grats mentioned, isn't this criticism? I can't speak this morning. Isn't this criticism true of every battle royal and the Royal Rumble? No, not necessarily because of the elimination aspect. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing people get eliminated throughout the match, and you're seeing the match play out and kind of figuring out who's going to be the final four and who's going to be the final two, who's going to win this thing. So that'd be the difference. I would agree with you if the Royal Rumble, you couldn't eliminate anybody until everyone was in the match. You had 30 people in there, and then people get eliminated, because then it'd be why are people just? You wouldn't be able to do anything, right? Because you'd have to eliminate people. So you just have people down on the ground just killing time, stomping each other, put each other in headlocks until everyone is in the ring. In that sense, I would agree. But otherwise, that's why the elimination aspect is so important, I think. People are mentioning. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I see what he's saying. You don't know who's going to win until obviously every competitor is out there. So I get that point, but I also understand what you're saying. Of there is eliminations happening, and people are still battling to survive, essentially, to be part of the final four. Whereas in War Games, they're going to be part of the end of the match no matter what.
Yes. Also in the chat, I'm glad this was brought up, because shout out to my buddy Mike Hughes, who comes over and watches most AEW shows with me on Wednesdays. He mentioned this right after the match, and I see the chat here from Mellow420. He says, think about it for a second, you know what I mean? And what he's referencing is it made the scapegoat not only look badass, but it made him truly look like a scapegoat. He's talking about the finish of the match with Jack Perry, which is a very, very good point that needs to be brought up, is he's going to be used as the scapegoat in this story as well, where because of him, they had to quit, I think. So don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, how that's going to play out, but I feel like that's going to play more into his scapegoat gimmick and everything. And he did look, it was interesting because at the end of the match, he looked just he had this look on his face. He was just it was a mixture between being pissed off and just deflated and just disappointed. He's just standing there completely defenseless.
He got whacked in the head with a chair.
No, I know, but I just think it's an interesting dynamic where all this is going with the way the match finished, the fact that the Elite got beat. How much longer do you think the Elite this is going to go on? Where this story is even, you know what I mean? This feels like this would kind of be almost an end to it, but at the same time, there's a lot they can still do. But are you even interested in seeing another combination of AEW versus the Elite? You know what I mean? How are you feeling about the whole story at this point now?
No, I think that's done. But the thing is, and this is why I thought stakes would have actually been important here, is I thought the Elite should have been a bigger deal going into this.
Yeah.
Them having this power should have been an overall just bigger deal. They lost, and now we're already talking about, Jack Perry's looking disappointed. Are they going to break them up? There's obviously the stuff with Hangman. Hangman just wanted in the match to get at Swerve. But they should have. Did they beat up Tony Khan? I keep going back to this, and I don't know if people are sick of it. And I'm sorry if you are.
It's a good point that needs to be made, because there was a lot, especially with him doing all the draft stuff after the neck brace. There was a lot around that they could have taken advantage of that they didn't.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I keep harping on this, but this should have been a big deal. It should have been. And I don't think it was a big enough deal on their own television. I don't think they stressed what actually happened enough. I jokingly said this last night, but it's not a full-on joke. There's always some truth in it, a little bit of kidding. Darby Allin did this match and everything, and he got a TNT title shot out of it, which was good on him. He's best friends, even on screen, with Tony Khan. Tony Khan drove him to the arena when he had the flamethrower. Right. He could have very easily just asked Tony Khan for a title shot. Tony Khan is still the president of the company, making matches. He could have just been like, Tony, this guy got in this match. They were going to hand him the title. Just give me my title shot. And Tony probably been like, Will Ospreay just went and he got his rematch against MJF, even though MJF agreed to face Daniel Garcia 3 weeks ago. So he probably could have just asked Tony for a title shot.
Or without even asking, like, why wouldn't Tony Khan have just like booked that anyway? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't Tony want the Elite losing these belts, so he'd be like wanting to put up like some of his best guys against them? I know there's a whole buffer with Christopher Daniels and Brandon Cutler or whatever, but like, but to your right, I know, but like to your same point, like, don't you see what I'm saying too? Where it's like in storyline, yeah, Darby could have totally like went and asked, and he probably would have been granted, but like, why isn't Tony Khan more like vengeful himself? Like, I feel like we should see him on screen, like plotting to take down the Elite. Like, okay, we're gonna get this guy against this guy to take this title off. You know what I mean? We got to get these belts off these people that are trying to ruin our company. So I'm going to put my best guys against them and try to make that happen. Because I could be wrong, but like the build up to this Blood and Guts match, did it really involve Tony at all as far as like formulating the team, or like it was basically just the team coming together on screen, right? He didn't really have much to do with that. But you would feel like based on the story, Tony would be behind the scenes or even on camera being like, okay, who's going to rally and help us out? Like, I got to get revenge on these guys. We got to take them down because they're trying to ruin our company.
I said this previously. I'll make the same point here quickly. Individually, they made sense for the team. If you brought it back to the attack on Tony, the Acclaimed put together pandemic successes. Tony saw something in them to make them to put them together and look at their rise in AEW. Swerve, given the opportunities, given the ball, got to run with it. Mark Briscoe, Tony wanted them on TV before. Unfortunately, Jay's passing is what kind of put Mark on TV. But Mark is, kind of very grateful for everything Tony's done to him and his family. Darby, like, doesn't need much further of an explanation. You could have tied it all back to that. You could have tied the heat all back to that. Like, you guys attacked this man who was so helpful to us, who has been there for us for every step of the way. And now we're going to stand up for what you did and we're going to get revenge. And none of that was ever explained. Instead, they were bickering before the match of, you're not the leader. You're not my leader. And Mark Briscoe had to get them all together. I did love, it was funny to me, of them using the bolt cutters to get Swerve out of the handcuffs. I'm just like, I remember when Swerve used the bolt cutters and cut Billy Gunn's fingers while Billy Gunn's right there helping Swerve out of these handcuffs. The storytelling leading up to it could have been better. The match itself was very, very good. They do enough in these matches to make them stand out. Somebody said in our chat, it felt more like individual stories than something bigger. And that's 100% true. They set up a lot of stuff moving forward. And that's one thing you could tell even going into it, is it did feel like individual stories, just kind of, okay, well, now let's put them together because these people are basically feuding with these people. The Elite were together. So who are they in a storyline with? Oh, these guys. All right, well, these guys are now Team AEW. They tried to set up potentially Hangman and Okada. Bless Okada. Who that man wanted to avoid blood, and he saw guts and said, absolutely not. Nope, not doing any of that. Okada wanted nothing to do with this match. Ruled. But it did feel like just individual stories, and Hangman and Okada might be one thing. Hangman and Swerve felt like the biggest deal in this match. Yeah. I don't know when we're going to get that. We're obviously not going to get it at All In unless they make it a triple threat for some reason. And then coming out of All In, if Danielson's the champion, and by the way, I believe Danielson's going to win. I don't think they're doing all of this to have Danielson lose again. I think he's winning. So if Danielson's the champion, does Hangman cost Swerve the title? That's how he gets back. And then you do Hangman and Swerve without the title. This is the best story they have going in AEW. And to not do it at their biggest stage, and then to potentially not do it without a title. That's tough. That's a tough look.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's why I brought up earlier, like, kind of just how it's not necessarily confusing, but I feel like what I love so much about our show, aside from doing it with you and getting to interview the wrestlers and all that stuff, like, I love our chat because, like, I think we're all pretty much on the same page. Even if I don't articulate the best of what I'm trying to explain, I think y'all get where I'm coming from. And like, I'm not necessarily confused by the booking of like Danielson and the booking of Hangman and Swerve. I'm not really confused by it. I just don't know like why they would go the route that they did for everything you just mentioned, if that makes sense. Because like I almost feel like at this point, Danielson's probably lobbying backstage not to win. He's like, the biggest things we have is Hangman and Swerve. I would like if you have me win this, then like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be around much longer. They are, you know. I don't know why. It's tough because like you want to see Danielson, you know, do the coolest stuff he can before he leaves, but you also don't want this whole thing to be overshadowed by Swerve and Hangman, and Swerve and Hangman should be for the world title, but I don't think it's going to be, just like you mentioned. Like I think the trajectory you just laid out is probably what's going to go down. I think that Swerve is going to lose to Danielson at All In, which is going to be cool for Danielson. It's going to be cool for Danielson's fans. It's a cool moment for me. Like I'm a Danielson fan, you know, like I think it'll be nice to see him get his flowers officially from AEW before he hangs them up full time for everything he's done for that company. Like I have nothing against it from that sense at all. But I feel like there's going to be a large portion of the fan base that's going to be like, damn, well, why would you have Swerve lose right before his next match with Hangman? Because there's even more stakes on that match if the title's involved. Because it's hard to even get bigger than where it is already, right? With everything they've already done to one another, you feel like the world title would be kind of like the be all end all match between those two. Now, on the flip side, you could look at it from like, you know, we're going to talk about CM Punk and Drew McIntyre here in a little bit, but like you could look at it from that sense too, maybe, and be like, well, the feud's so hot it doesn't need the title belt. I see that too. Like I get it, but I just feel like the match at Wembley wrote itself, especially with Hangman coming back during the Owen tournament. Like I would have, like if it was up to me, they'd be doing Hangman versus Swerve at Wembley, or well, actually, really, they'd be doing Ospreay versus Swerve at Wembley because I feel like that's a huge potential missed opportunity. But at least he's going after the American Championship now, which is also funny. Jeremy, how many times have I mentioned on this show? If you took the Continental Championship and the International Championship, so you take the International and the Continental, you put them together, you got an Intercontinental Championship. They actually did me one better. They threw a curveball, and now they have the Continental Championship still, right? Which is essentially short for Intercontinental Championship. And then you have the American Championship, which is straight up the U.S. title. So you have somehow over time created a United States Championship and an Intercontinental Championship in AEW, along with the TNT title, the World title, the FTW title, which isn't recognized, but they have title matches all the time for it on the show. The trios titles nobody cares about. I mean, you got CMLL belts all over the place, Ring of Honor title belts. Like we cover this stuff, and I'm lost. You know what I mean? Like that's wild to me. So I just want to throw that out there too. Where like I thought it was pretty funny that they basically introduced the United States Championship last night. But at least Ospreay and MJF's going to go down again. And on top of that, what the hell's going on with Daniel Garcia? If he just got squeezed out of that whole scenario, is he even staying with AEW? Like for real? I have no idea. So let me know your thoughts on everything I just said, Jeremy. Like what do you? We can move past like the Swerve and Hangman stuff if you want.
Well, I have a comment on Swerve and Hangman very fast.
Sure.
I don't know if they are going to do the match as quickly as we're almost surmising here. So it does seem like maybe Danielson wins at All In, and then maybe you're doing Swerve and Hangman at All Out, or maybe shortly after that. What if they go a completely different direction? Danielson wins the title. He's got to defend against, I'm not going to say who. He defends it against the Royal Rampage winner, Rampage Rumble, whatever the hell they call that thing. That's going to be a Grand Slam. That
you're talking about the match that they filmed last night.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't spoil that, but I saw who won. So
yeah,
and that would make sense. I'm totally good with the winner of that. So okay, cool.
Okay, but he defends the title against that person at Grand Slam. Danielson wins that match. he defends against Hangman at Wrestle Dream, whatever the pay-per-view is in October. Pretty sure it's Wrestle Dream. That's in
That's
Washington.
in Seattle? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's Swerve Country. So.
Right.
And Danielson, of course.
Hangman beats Danielson for the title at that show.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
And then Hangman is the champion when he faces Swerve again.
So I'm fine with that if it plays out that way. I'm down. I'm down for that. I really have no problem. I think that also, because I brought up Garcia, I think it's possible if he's staying with AEW that while Danielson is the champion, Garcia will get a title shot against him. And they'll have a really good match with one another for the world title. It'll almost be like the way like Danielson, actually, you know what? Before I go any farther, do you have any insight or anything on the status of Daniel Garcia? Is he actually is he legit working on his contract right now? Or is he just with AEW and they're swerving everyone? Or is he out? You have any idea?
I'm not sure. I don't know if Sean might have an update on that. Let me look and see what the latest was.
That was some of the speculation, right? Was that it was speculated that they might be basically writing him off the way that MJF beat him down in case he was not going to be coming back. It's kind of some of the speculation I had seen online, but I didn't know if that was true or not.
So this was from July 3rd. Sources familiar with the situation have confirmed that Daniel Garcia AEW contract was set to expire fall of 2024, at least as of earlier this year. Unless he's re-signed since then, Garcia could hit free agency. However, one top AEW name said that they don't believe he's going anywhere and even think he's re-signed. When we asked directly to those close to Garcia about his contract status, they said that a lot of his future would likely come into focus soon. We did reach out to Garcia for comment, but didn't get anything on the record or on the background for the story. So there you go.
So torn. It's a mixed bag of there's some people that think he's out, but some people that are totally expecting him back.
I don't think there's anybody that thinks he's out.
I think I misunderstood. The part that I'm missing here is, do we know if he actually is out of contract or not?
Yes. It does seem like his contract is up in the fall of 2024, unless he's re-signed. And there was somebody who said that they believe he already has re-signed. But that's not confirmed.
Understood.
That's just, a belief of a talent.
Understood. Okay, that's where I was getting confused. Okay, cool. So, hopefully, I shouldn't say that. Honestly, whatever he decides to do, I'm fine with, because I think he would do great in the WWE system with with how things currently are right now. Especially, he'd probably go to NXT first, I'd imagine, if he was going to go that route. But that's obviously just all speculation. I would imagine he'll probably stay with AEW at least a little bit longer. I thought it was interesting because I saw Lexus King the other day said something about if MJF came over to NXT right now, he could have anybody's spot. And I was just thinking to myself, bro, you think MJF would go to NXT? There's no shot. If he went to WWE, he's going straight to main roster. Anyway, go ahead.
It comes from Garcia saying he was in a contract year this year. That's literally how this whole thing started. It was Daniel Garcia during interviews saying it's a contract year for me. And then Sean, of course, did a lot of legwork on trying to figure out when it actually is up and if he's resigned and stuff. But that's where it all comes from.
Okay. So yeah. But and the reason I brought him up anyway for all this is because obviously it was teased that they were going to do MJF versus Garcia at All In. And obviously that's not going to happen now that they're doing MJF versus Ospreay. So I was like, well, where's that leave Garcia? They could do that. That would be a fire match. Do you think that they're going to do that?
I don't know. I do think it's a little strange if you do the MJF, but MJF is a heel. So if you do the MJF attacks Daniel or agrees to face Daniel Garcia at All In and then puts him on the shelf like he did, And then MJF is just like, never mind. Like, I'm not going to face you at all. And they have All Out 2 weeks later. It's very possible MJF beats Ospreay and then defends against Daniel Garcia at All Out. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because it's also, like, obviously MJF and Ospreay having a 1 hour long match a week ago. Like, how do you top? I mean, I just shouldn't say how do you top that if they do it again, just straight up 1-on-1 at Wembley, because the atmosphere is that's what's gonna allow it to be topped. Even if they don't go for an hour, I mean, that atmosphere for Ospreay there is going to be insane. And MJF is great. I mean, I don't give him enough credit because I didn't like the way he was booked in his return to the company and stuff like that. But I want to make it clear, since day one, since his indie days, I have been a massive fan of MJF. Like, I think even by like most measurable metrics for AEW, which I really honestly don't pay much attention to, but every now and then I see like a tweet of like numbers, or I hear someone on a podcast bring it up or something. And I'm pretty sure MJF is like the number one like numbers guy for AEW still, where like I think most of like the merchandise, I think he's like maybe number one or way up there on merchandise. Most of his TV appearances do like the biggest numbers as far as like ratings and like stuff on their YouTube and stuff like that. So like, even as whether it's a heel or babyface, people are invested in MJF, and that's a huge W for AEW, because not counting like, exposure he had on the indies or like MLW, which just obviously is not at the same level of like mainstream as far as like reach as like AEW and WWE for sure. But like, for all intents and purposes, MJF is a homegrown AEW guy that most of the fan base did not know about until AEW. So it is really good that they have guys like him on the roster that are proven success stories, that are legitimate draws, that did not have exposure on WWE television before coming to AEW. So I want to just take a second there to like give MJF a lot of credit, because he still gets big reactions. He's selling merch, he's doing numbers, and he doesn't have that WWE machine behind him before all of this, like most of the other people you would mention on a list like this. So, I mean, like, I know Sting's different because he had like that little WWE run, but obviously Sting was a legend. I think Sting is still the number like 5 or 6 merch seller right now. You know what I mean? Another thing that was interesting, I think the AEW shirt and the Ring of Honor shirt are like in their top 10 of their sellers. Like, that shouldn't be the case. They need to figure this out with their merchandise. They're like, if you look at the WWE's numbers, none of their top sellers are just like the WWE logo merch. But like in AEW, they're like number 5 shirt is just the AEW logo. It's like, it's because you have a weak merch team that makes uncool t-shirts. So people aren't buying the shirts of the superstars or the wrestlers. They're buying the shirts of the company, which is not necessarily what is bad, honestly, when I think like your wrestlers should be outdrawing the company thing, So I just want to throw that out there too. It's just some food for thought.
We have a super chat from Chi-Town Spares. I like the finish. Wouldn't mind seeing more elimination style matches in AEW. The Dark Order Elite one is the only one we've had, and it ruled. I think that's true. I can't remember too many elimination matches in AEW overall, and that match was fantastic.
That match ruled. That was the one where the Elite came out in Space Jam gear and was like doing like shooting hoops and like the entrance ramp, and the Dark Order. That honestly, I thought
Hangman entrance. Before. Yeah,
that was the best.
Yeah.
That was the best. That was honestly one of my favorite moments in AEW history, when the whole, like, because they like revealed each member of the Dark Order one by one. Remember, like the spotlight like hit each one on the ramp, and then Hangman came through the middle dressed in the same gear that they were wearing with like the purple rosebuds or whatever. That was sick. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. That was one of the best moments in the history of AEW, in my opinion. Those entrances were off, and then the match totally delivered. So that's a good callback for sure.
All right. Anything else from Blood and Guts? We still have a lot to talk about elsewhere.
No. Well, we can talk. We can talk real quick about Kamille, and then we'll move on to the other company. Sure.
Yeah, Kamille made her debut. She attacked Britt Baker, aligned herself with Mercedes Moné. She'd apparently been under contract since February. And, she became a free agent at the end of the year. NWA contract expired. She kind of teased where she was going. Then nothing really happened, and now she has made her AEW debut. I think Kamille is fantastic. I think she's improved a lot over the years, especially working with people like Thunder Rosa. Go back and watch the Thunder Rosa match from NWA, and that shows a lot of the highlights of Kamille. And it wasn't just Thunder Rosa, doing her best work. Like Kamille really held her own in that match. I love a good torture rack. Her using the torture rack ruled. I hope she continues to use that because she's much bigger than a lot of these women. So it's a very cool visual. So yeah, Mercedes has got a heater in Kamille. And now maybe Jamie Hayter is Britt Baker's best friend coming back. We shall see.
I mean, Jamie Hayter, hopefully, I mean, if there was any time to come back, it'd be now, right before All In. She been out since like right before the last All In, right?
Yeah.
Like that's wild. Because I got her limited edition. Only 1,000 of them exist, but they had an All In action figure of her that I wound up pre-ordering, and eventually I got it. And she has not been on TV the entire time I've had this figure, which is kind of wild. Anyways, I am a big Kamille fan. Another match of hers that I think people should check out that you didn't mention, that a lot of people may have seen or may know about, is her versus Layla Hirsch, which is really good as well. Big stylistic difference, big physical difference too. Kamille much larger than Layla, but they meshed they meshed really, really well with one another. I'm a big fan of both of them. I think Kamille is excuse me, as somebody who covers the NWA pretty often over on the Weekender, I do pay attention. I watched the Crockett Cup, for instance, this past week because they had the finals and EC3 defended his title and stuff. But that's a whole other conversation in itself. My point is that I've watched the progression of Kamille as well, and I completely agree that she's improved tremendously. I believe I saw her debut live because I was in the crowd at NWA 70 in Nashville. And I'm pretty sure that's where she made her first appearance and helped out Tom Latimer. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw her literally like day one NWA. And like I was impressed by her physically before I even really had seen her work. You could tell she was athletic from day one, but she needed to learn on the job. I compare her a lot. I've compared her a lot in the past, her and Jade Cargill. And I've even said that one of my big money matches down the line is I think eventually in WWE we'll get Kamille versus Jade Cargill at some point. But the reason I compare the two is because there's a lot of similarities, like physically, like they're both big, athletic, strong women who can move, that learn really quickly. But on top of that, they had to literally learn on the job. Like they didn't have indie careers. They had to literally learn in front of live audiences, and it was sink or swim scenarios. They gave Kamille that NWA World Women's Championship for, I mean, it was like a couple years straight.
Yeah, it's like 2 years.
So, and she did a good job defending that thing. But it was always like the best 5-star match and all that stuff. No, but at the same time, it didn't really need to be because like the NWA, we can talk. The state of the NWA itself is its own conversation. But one of the main highlights to me of that company for the last few years has been Kamille, and watching her progress and see that long title run, because not only did she have a good run or a great run with that thing, it also helped make Kenzie Page, who is the current champion who beat Kamille for that thing. And I've said 1,000 times, I think the best current thing going on NWA television is Kenzie Page. So it's like Kamille deserves some credit there for propping that belt up and putting so much prestige on that belt. So then when it was time to move it over to Kenzie, it meant a lot for Kenzie to win it, and she's carried it strong ever since then. So yeah, and mainly the most confusing thing to me lately was, why isn't Kamille on TV? Like, I feel like, it's been a long time since we've seen her. But it's cool that she's back, or that she's debuted technically on AEW, or re-debuted, however you want to look at it. And I don't know how it's going to go as far as her being like the heavy for Kamille, or sorry, for not Sasha, Mercedes. But like eventually they'll have a split and wrestle each other one-on-one for that thing at some point. So I'm cool with watching how this played out. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy to see Kamille on television.
I do worry with the heavy for Mercedes. I think it's a great role for her. Don't get me wrong. Britt's not losing in the lead up to All In. I hope they don't do Mercedes, or Camille's the heavy, but she loses to basically all the people Mercedes is going to eventually face. I think this hurt Wardlow in the MJF stuff. Is like Wardlow would beat a bunch of nondescript people, fine, but then he'd face Cody and lose. Then he'd face CM Punk and lose. And it's like, okay, well, for every big match MJF is about to have against somebody, he's going to face Wardlow, and then they're going to beat Wardlow. I don't want that same role here of, oh, let's do Britt and Kamille in 3 weeks on TV, and Britt just beats Kamille. Like, I think they got to find a different route. I don't want her to basically become female Wardlow, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a really fair point and a totally fair concern. I don't want to see that happen to her either. Hopefully they've learned from their mistake. I mean, sometimes AEW learns from their mistakes, sometimes they don't. It is what it is. I think the trajectory of Wardlow specifically has been mind-boggling. The stops and starts with him, and basically they just keep putting him back in the same spot that like didn't work before. Like they'll just like keep like it's interesting. But yeah, that's also another topic for another day. But I'm with you. Shout out Kamille if you see this. I was a very big fan once again of her work in the NWA, and I think she deserves a lot of credit for the progression. And on top of that, I can't stress it enough. And this is why I give a lot of credit to like NXT Level Up. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to the show, but I actually thoroughly enjoy it, and I enjoy covering it on the Weekender. And one of the reasons I like it so much is because, you know, even though it's a small audience and a lot of those people are probably like, you know, going like for free, or they're like this, a lot of the same people probably in the crowd week after week, it's still impressive to me to like have to go out there and literally learn in front of people. Like we talked to, who was it? Was it Jameson Shook when we were talking to him that y'all are about to hear where, yeah, it was. He tells us during the interview that he was 4 matches in before he realized that him and his opponent were working the wrong way. Like the heel babyface dynamic was completely backwards, and he got yelled at afterwards because he had already trained into his 4 matches in his career before he understood, oh wait, as the heel, I shouldn't be doing this. As a babyface, I shouldn't be doing this. But like, imagine that happening to you on WWE programming or AEW programming or the NWA. Like that would be magnified so much more. The whole world sees that happen to you. So anyway, just want to throw that out there. I respect Kamille a lot.
I'm old and I'm fucking tired, and I work with fucking children. I'm tired of wrestling these kids that think they know everything.
He's back. He's returning to the ring at SummerSlam for his second televised match in WWE since returning. His first televised singles match.
Rumble. Yeah.
Since returning.
Yeah.
CM Punk is cleared. He's facing Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins will be the special guest referee. Jensen, take it away.
Dude, this ruled. I love this segment on Raw. Like, I know people know how I feel about CM Punk. I don't need to get into all of that, but I will say where we're at right now, where we've gotten with Punk versus McIntyre, because it's similar. I've talked about this in AEW. A lot of the way that some of this stuff is being booked is based on your own perception of how you feel about a wrestler. So like, for instance, in AEW, I get really confused and torn a lot of reasons because like Swerve, I've talked about 1,000 times. Swerve is a heel, but he gets babyface reactions. Hangman is a babyface that gets heel reactions. There's plenty of examples that are similar to that. And in WWE, or also in AEW, confusing is like the Elite to me were like heroes for getting rid of CM Punk because he was like the cancer in the company, but they were positioned as they showed the footage of him going at Jack Perry and lunging at Tony Khan, but they were heels coming out of that, which once again was strange. When you go to the WWE, that's kind of similar in the sense of like, because I am a huge Drew McIntyre fan and I do not like CM Punk, Phil Brooks, this whole time, Drew McIntyre has been the babyface to me. Everything he's saying, same with Seth Rollins, has been a babyface. Everything that they're saying, I agree with. I think that they're just spitting facts. I think that the two of them can be cordial with CM Punk and they can do business with CM Punk. But I honestly believe neither of them actually like the human being, or at least didn't until maybe recently when he's been mending a lot of his fences due to lack of any options post this WWE run. So I feel like he's got to make it work and he's got to play ball. Now that all said, I'll get that all the way because to me, McIntyre, he still comes off like the baby face, but after last night, they drew that line in the sand, I feel, where like, because of the way that McIntyre, like Punk was in the ring, Punk was taping his fist off, Punk called out McIntyre, and Punk was ready to fight. That was a very baby face CM Punk promo and segment. And then McIntyre comes out and he's like, oh, I am going to kill you. I've been waiting for this. And he walks out and then he says, yeah, never mind. And then like lets the officials get between them. And that's a very, very heel move after all the things that CM Punk and McIntyre have done to one another. For McIntyre finally to have the opportunity to get his hands on him last night, or on Monday rather, and to decide, no, never mind. That's a very heel thing. So I think they're doing a better job now of like definitively drawing that line. Punk's the babyface, McIntyre's the heel, and Seth Rollins is kind of the tweener, the buffer between the two, but he's definitely a babyface in the grand scheme of things. So, and he gets babyface reactions, obviously. So like, I think it's an interesting dynamic between the three. I like that Rollins is a special ref because it does add something extra to the match, like a little more mystery of like how this thing's going to go down. And I honestly can't say enough good things. Like, personal feelings aside, on CM Punk, I thought the promo on Monday was fire, and the fans are super invested. They don't even need the world title involved in this to feel like the biggest thing going into SummerSlam. And that's, I love Cody Rhodes. I don't think there's much threat to him losing the championship, which I'm good with because I don't want to lose the championship. But it's a lot coming from me, the biggest Cody Rhodes mark in the world, that I think probably the most hyped thing going into SummerSlam is McIntyre versus Punk. And I thought they did a great job on Monday. And then the way that Adam Pearce kind of got in between everything, said I have a big referee problem. That's what introduced Rollins into this thing. I thought this whole thing was fire on Monday. What about you?
That was really good, and now I look forward to them recreating SummerSlam '97 with Rollins, McIntyre, and Punk.
With a chair shot to the head.
Yeah, CM Punk finally gets to be Bret Hart.
There you go.
Rollins is going to strike McIntyre. That's how
people don't know the reference. We're talking Undertaker versus Bret Hart with Shawn Michaels as a special ref, right? That was the scenario, right? And he ducked the chair shot to the head. That's what led Undertaker to get pinned to lose the title. Old school. Can't believe I remember that as well as I do. That was a long time ago. Yes. Remember SummerSlam 90? Was it SummerSlam 98? Was it the next year, the Highway to Hell? It was Undertaker, and I love that build with the AC/DC and stuff. That was the match where Undertaker did the leg drop off the top rope through the announce table on the outside. That was not enough people talk about that. Undertaker's pretty goated. We got to give him his respect.
That's not true at all.
That did happen, didn't it?
I mean, he might have done the leg drop through the announce table, but let's not act like the Undertaker was like some great worker.
I'm not going to, but after he saved Cody, I've been doing a lot more of my research and a lot of revisionist history. And anyways, well, how do you have anything to add to this whole Seth Punk McIntyre thing?
I want to say that was a fake picture before that gets out there. Big Man Dog saying picture.
Probably
not real. No. There is a legitimate picture out there that it looks like somebody like Seth Rollins like kissing Punk, and it's not Seth Rollins. So just put that out there for everybody. It's not true.
Listen, time heals all wounds. I legitimately think that there's like real disdain between Rollins and Punk, and Rollins and McIntyre and Punk and stuff. But I also feel like, unlike in AEW, they can coexist. And once again, time heals all wounds. For all I know, McIntyre, Punk, and Rollins are just laughing all the way to the bank right now. They're like, dude, we got them convinced we hate each other. Like, we're making so much money right now. Like, this is awesome. Which they could have done with the Elite and Punk, but couldn't figure out. So
I'm sure for CM Punk, time does heal all wounds because he doesn't have too many other places to go right now.
Zero options, bro. Unless he wants to work indies, which is not going to happen. No one's going to be able to afford him on wrestling or MMA side after this. He's not going back to the UFC because they can't find opponents for him that are bad enough to match him against that'll get sanctioned at this point. And Dana White has no interest in him fighting anymore. In AEW, he burnt that bridge massively. So yeah, this is it for him. But this is a damn good way to It's a damn good only option to have if you're CM Punk, though, for being honest. I mean, he's, as much as it hurts me to say, he's killing it right now. Like I do worry about his body and stuff, though, like it holding up and all that. He's had a lot of injuries, not just AEW, not just WWE, but of course AEW also. He was injured a lot of that run too. So don't know how it all play out, but he's selling a lot of merchandise. He's getting good ratings, and the fans are popping massive for everything he's doing. So I mean, you know, who am I as just one hater? Who cares, right?
And Drew did tweet about Colt Cabana. I don't know if you saw that, Jensen.
No, sorry, say it again.
Drew McIntyre tweeting about Colt Cabana.
I completely missed that. What did he say?
Okay, so CM Punk said a couple months ago at this point, I never need anybody's name on it to like sell a t-shirt.
Right.
And Punk's latest shirt has McIntyre's name on it. So McIntyre just tweeted like, that aged about as well as you shouting out Colt Cabana on WWE television.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. See, I love that McIntyre is not afraid. That's the other dynamic that I've talked about before. Like, I don't want to talk trash about like the AEW roster because I'm an AEW fan and I like the human beings that work there. But like, it's just a different dynamic. I feel like Punk felt like he was just, which he was. He was a big fish in a smaller pond there. But like, I feel like he felt like he was untouchable and like nobody was going to step to him. And if they did, he was just going to kick their ass because he had MMA training or whatever. But in the WWE, it's like you're gonna step to Drew McIntyre for real. You're gonna step to Roman Reigns or any of these, like even Seth Rollins, I think. You know, like, so it's just one of those things where I feel like the dynamic's totally different, where Punk's like not going to actually be trying to fight these people. But in AEW, he felt comfortable doing. I do not see him going at Drew McIntyre for real. So I feel like McIntyre can really say whatever he wants about him because he's not threatened at the end of the day over it.
Match should be, I don't know what to expect from a match. I'm not going to say it should be good because it should be, all things considered, good. Dude, CM Punk hasn't wrestled, by the time this match happens, a legitimate match in almost a year. Like his last real legit match would have been Samoa Joe. He had 2 house show matches against Dominic Mysterio, which like were relatively short. You know, they were what they were. I've watched the YouTube videos of them and like they were fine, but they were house show matches. The Royal Rumble performance was there. That's most known for, you know, him getting hurt. This is a big time match in a stadium at SummerSlam. Again, his first real legit match since Samoa Joe, which I think that Samoa Joe match rules.
It was just great.
Especially
in hindsight, knowing knowing what's going on,
knowing what happened beforehand and everything, for them to go out there like that, it's even better in my mind. But yeah, I don't know what to expect from this match. I really don't. Drew's great. It's going to be a lot of story. I don't know how Punk's going to look. No idea. Coming off of this injury, another major injury, and coming off a year away, just no idea what to expect. So we shall see.
It's going to be good, honestly, as long as Punk doesn't get hurt or like something, and which I'm not hoping for, by the way, at all. Like I'm not one of these people that like wishes injury on people, like just because I dislike him or whatever. I'm not like that at all. I hope that everyone gets through this. I hope it's a great match. I mean, the build has been awesome, but unfortunately, most of the build has been CM Punk has been hurt throughout it, so they haven't been able to get very physical. But like in hindsight, in the grand scheme of things, it's going to work to their advantage because people are ready for them to get at each other finally. So I have high expectations. I think this is going to be really good. So.
The other WWE topic is Bobby Lashley potentially leaving the company. Contract is coming up, and it's not official that he's leaving yet. He's still under contract as of right now, but all signs point to him not resigning, potentially going elsewhere. There's talks of him and MVP. MVP is more or less officially leaving. He's alluded to much on Twitter and Instagram, and there are reports that MVP and Bobby Lashley want to possibly reform the Hurt Business. Obviously, Shelton's a free agent. Cedric is still under contract with WWE. But you know, your thoughts on Lashley and him potentially leaving WWE?
I'm most surprised about Lashley leaving. of all of them for obvious reasons. But like MVP, when's the last time he was even on the show? I could be. I don't catch every WWE show, so he might be on more regular. But he was with Omos, right? And then that was
Omos isn't even on the show, so MVP.
He's never around. They got to figure out what to do with Omos. That is such a waste of like a gigantic human being that isn't. I know people are. He's not good, but he's not like Great Khali bad either. You know what I mean? Like he's, for a guy his size, he's somewhere between Great Khali and Big Cass. Big Cass being like one of the best big men I've ever seen move. Big Bill, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, I mean, I could, for Lashley, I guess I'm more surprised because you just kind of feel like at this age of his career with his age, because I don't know if he's like trying to do more MMA or anything, of like maybe he wants to leave so he can do other stuff that the WWE maybe doesn't want him doing. But I don't know. But like, you would just kind of feel like he'd be a lifer again at this point. Remember back around, was it WrestleMania 34 was the one where Nicholas won the tag title with Braun Strowman, and everyone thought it was going to be Lashley, and it wound up being Nicholas instead. And then Lashley wound up re-debuting the next night on Raw. I was live at all of that. That's the main reason I remember. But yeah, I just so I guess that's my main thoughts on this, is that I think that it's surprising to me that Lashley would be interested in leaving at this stage of his career at his age and everything, with how established he is in the WWE system. But I also feel like the WWE massively fumbled the Hurt Business with the potential that they had, and they should have been around a lot longer. Like they probably still should be a group to this day from the time that they started. Like I thought that was a perfect scenario for everybody involved, and you could have members, coming and going as well over time. So like, I feel like if everybody involved looks at it more like, we've made our money well, let me put it this way. I think Lashley is the only one who has like a real decision in this. I have to also make that fair too. Like I feel like Lashley's going to be able to decide if he wants to stay or leave. MVP, they're probably going to let his contract run out if it hasn't already. Same with Cedric Alexander at some point, because I have no idea what he's doing.
He's on NXT.
Okay, well, that's not a great spot to be in when you've been on the main roster as long as he was, but it's better than not being used at all. So, but that's just kind of my mindset, I guess, is like the others, and Shelton's already out of the company. So like, but if Lashley's looking at this, like he's talking to those guys and being like, Shelton, MVP, like, if you guys want to do it, like I'm cool. I've made my money. I'm cool with going and doing this somewhere else. If we want to, get the band back together, and they felt like they were shortchanged on like, what they were able to do as a group, and they want to do more together, I got no problem with it. The only downside would be if like they debuted as a group in AEW and like their booking sucked or something, and now you have more ex-WWE guys filling up spots on an already humongously inflated roster. But if it works, the Hurt Business should have done more in the WWE, and AEW gives them a chance, so, that's how I look at it. I'm not necessarily like happy or sad about the possibility. I guess I'm just more confused that Lashley would want to leave the WWE if it's his own decision.
Well, Lashley hasn't really been used a whole lot since WrestleMania. He was aligned with the Street Profits. That didn't go great. They tried to make them a heels. The crowd didn't buy it because they like the Street Profits. They had that feud with Karrion Kross. That Karrion Kross said that Lashley was unprofessional in that feud because he was kind of not putting build on their WrestleMania match, and he was overlooking and looking on to bigger and better things. He was supposed to be in King of the Ring. They said that it was an injury, that he got pulled from that, but then he hasn't really been on television, I think, since WrestleMania, essentially. And I don't know. It's a weird thing with Lashley, and by that I mean it seems like he should be on television more, but it also seems like maybe there's more to the story that we just don't know about, and probably won't know about until Lashley does an interview or MVP does an interview. I mean, MVP's been very outspoken of they pitched to put the Hurt Business back together, and Triple H turned it down, and we didn't get it. I don't know when it comes to the Hurt Business. People are, saying that people are saying that, they can just replace Cedric with somebody like Powerhouse Hobbs, or, they originally wanted Ricochet in the Hurt Business is what MVP said. But you also have to think of the incarnation of the Hurt Business was Lashley, MVP, Cedric, and Shelton. Do they want to? I don't think they had the Hurt Business trademark anyway. So there is that. I don't know if they could call it the Hurt Business. First off, but those guys work together. They grew close together. Do they want to do that without Cedric? I think that's a real possibility that maybe they want to do something, but they don't want to fully do the Hurt Business if Cedric's not involved, because Cedric was part of the Hurt Business. It's easy to fantasy book these type of things, and maybe they do something similar, but I also think they have a lot of respect for Cedric and they don't want to do the exact same thing. When it comes to AEW, you're going to put Lashley on television. If they do, okay, who are you taking TV time from?
Right.
That's what a lot of people don't discuss is, yeah, just sign this.
Max Caster was talking about that literally when it came to Shelton Benjamin specifically, was like, if he came over, he'd be taking a spot for me maybe. So I really wouldn't want him here is basically what he said.
Yeah, like they've got guys, and Max Caster, maybe not the guy to deliver the message, but I understand what he was saying with that. It honestly, it makes a lot of sense because everyone loves to do, bring in this guy, bring in this guy, bring in that guy. But then you gotta, okay, who are you taking off TV then? Because that's what has to happen. And I understand Caster's point of, why do I want all these guys to come in and then maybe I lose my spot, or maybe my friends lose their spot? Like, no, I don't want any of that. So
right.
You gotta think about that. Like, I do think there is a spot for them. Certainly on Collision, they could do something more on those shows to highlight different people and to build stuff up on Collision, because Collision doesn't always feel like the biggest show in the world right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on all that. It'll be interesting to see what winds up happening. Also, just worth mentioning real quick before we move on, another big this was nobody's fault, but I remember Lashley was supposed to have that big feud with Bray Wyatt, like heading into WrestleMania a couple years ago. And obviously that didn't wind up happening. And rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. It's not like I'm, I obviously feel bad about that, but it's just another kind of thing to look at where like there were bigger plans for Lashley over the years, and just a lot of it just didn't happen. So I'm interested to see what his future looks like. I think there's a spot for them in AEW as well, potentially. It just depends on how they're all booked and who do you take a spot from.
Move on to our other topics.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
TNA Slammiversary was this past week. Jensen, I know you did the post-show review with Joel and Cresta, but thoughts on really Nemeth winning the title and not Joe Hendry.
I'm not Joe Hendry. So, if you want the full review, check it out. It's right here on this channel. Me, Joel, and Cresta, Slammiversary 2024 review. The main thing that was, should I lead with this? This is kind of negative, but it's okay. The main thing that I didn't like about the match, there was two things. One was that I was pretty convinced, along with everyone else, that Joe Hendry was going to win this thing, and he didn't. But he did pin Moose to eliminate him, which was pretty sweet because like he pinned the champion in the match, but he didn't become the champion, obviously. So they still made Joe Hendry look pretty damn good in there. Another negative was when it came down to it being Nemeth versus Kazarian as the final two. I was like, Nemeth's for sure winning. Like, I mean, there's just no, all respect to Frank Kazarian, but did anybody think that Frank Kazarian, of all the people in that match, he was probably the least likely person to win? And it came down to him being at the end. I just feel like nobody bought that he was going to win. So pretty much after Hendry got eliminated, I feel like everyone was like, oh, Nemeth's for sure winning this thing. That'd really be my only complaints, honestly. I think that the match itself was done really well. Macklin got eliminated early, but looked really strong before he got speared by Moose and eliminated. So like he came out there looking okay, even though he got beat pretty quick. Moose getting eliminated by Joe Hendry once again, it was a shocker, and it continued to put over Hendry more. Just the way the things kind of played out up until once again the end, which is still, it was a good moment for Nemeth. I assumed he'd probably become the TNA champion at some point during his run, considering when the company rebranded, he was like the big surprise at the end of their first big show back. So you knew that like there was plans for him to be one of, if not the top guy. And I was actually kind of surprised they didn't have him beat Moose like immediately for the title when he came in. But you know, things played out the way that they did. Nemeth's the champion now, and he wrestles Ali tonight, I think, or maybe next week. But they taped Ali versus Nemeth, which I'm sure is going to be a banger. And then they have other people kind of in line for Nemeth now, like Mike Santana is one of the next guys up. Josh Alexander, I forgot to mention, Josh Alexander turned heel during the match, during the main event, and that was awesome. That's the biggest missed opportunity. This is the last thing I'll say before I pass it to you, because I know we're going to have to rush through the last couple topics here before I clock in for the shoot job. But I think what they have an opportunity to do here now, because it's interesting, because Joe Hendry, I feel like it's still super over. People still want to be the champion. He's the most over guy as far as like the men that are going back and forth between NXT and TNA. Shout out to the Rascals, though, too, who have done a great job. And, of course, Jordan Grace. But the point is, you have an opportunity here where you have a heel Josh Alexander now. If you go all the way with him and you put that TNA championship on Josh Alexander, he becomes the champion again. And Ethan Page is the champion of NXT. You have an opportunity right now to have a two-man power trip with the North on both shows, which I think is a pretty cool opportunity to have. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, maybe Josh Alexander winds up winning this thing eventually, and him and Ethan Page reunite, and we got a two-man power trip that's showing up on TNA and NXT as world champions, and they can tag team together when they need to also. So throwing it out there.
I haven't heard that. That's interesting. I don't know if either of them have plans to like reunite. It feels like, I mean, maybe they do, but it feels like that was something that they did. They're really proud of, but they've kind of both moved on from that.
Yeah, well, I'm with you, but they don't really need to be, because they're on two separate shows, they just need to be like kind of loosely aligned. You know what I mean? They don't need to be like a full-time tag team. It's just they help each other out and they show up on. Now, once again, I don't know what like Ethan's relationship currently is like with TNA. I don't know. He worked there for a long time with like the previous management. But I think it's a cool opportunity, you know, just like former tag team champions who both have reasons to be the champions of their shows. Ethan's already the champion. That's what really set this up in my mind. I was like, Ethan's already the champion in NXT. So all you got to do is get the title on Alexander, and they could do this if they wanted to. So it is something to maybe keep your eye out for potentially.
I like that. I haven't heard that before. So I think that would be very interesting. I thought Hendry should have won. I think that was kind of a miss, especially Hendry's going to be on NXT next week doing like a concert thing. Like you could have had the TNA champion just on NXT in a big segment to really highlight him. They went with Nemeth. Fine. Like maybe they'll go with Hendry at Bound for Glory. Sometimes you just got to strike when these things are hot, and no one's hotter than Joe Hendry right now. ROH is tomorrow night, headlined by Mark Briscoe against Roderick Strong in a feud that is only taking place on AEW television. And there's other matches as well.
Yeah, there's honestly not a whole lot to really dig into here, and we're short on time. Well, we're only going to do like one indie topic anyway, I think, so we'll be able to be pretty quick.
Athena and Queen Aminata is going to be really good. Athena continues to do very strong work. Billy Starks and Red Velvet will be good.
Yes.
They've really continued to carry ROH.
All these matches are going to be good. Like the card actually isn't bad. It's just that I hate to say it, but like I just feel like there's just no real buzz or momentum for Ring of Honor. So it's just kind of like, oh, another pay-per-view is coming up. Cool. I'll tune back in to watch that because I know it's going to deliver. But the weekly show, I feel like people just don't pay a whole lot of attention to. Watch the post show though here on Fightful afterwards on Thursdays. But I think that of anybody on the roster, if they're not going to have Billy Starks be the one to beat Athena, and Billy Starks obviously has the women's TV championship, and Billy Starks is my favorite person on Ring of Honor. I'm a huge fan of hers. But I feel like if she's not going to be the one after all this, Queen Aminata's probably got the best shot of anybody to beat Athena. So I feel like there's a chance Athena might actually lose this one. I'm a big Queen Aminata fan. I've got to see her live many times in Atlanta at companies like Battle Slam. So I've been familiar with her work for quite a while, and I'm a very big fan of her and Athena. So I think like on the women's side, Billy Starks and Red Velvet and Athena and Queen Aminata, they're both going to have really good matches. I'd expect Billy to retain, but I could see Aminata maybe beating Athena potentially. I'm going to take Mark Briscoe to retain over Roderick Strong. I think Wheeler Yuta versus Lee Moriarty for the Pure Championship is going to be a really, really good technical match between those two. It'll be something different, but I think it'll be really good. And outside of that, well, they got a Texas death match between Layla Hirsch and Diamante. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I like both women.
That'll be good. The lights out match between them is really good.
Yeah. So I don't want to downplay that. Like, they got a good card here. It's just unfortunate that like if we weren't talking about it right now, most people probably wouldn't even know that there's a Ring of Honor pay-per-view tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just is what it is.
I'll pause our finisher saying Aminata is great, but we've seen plenty of women come in and be like, oh, Athena loses this one. I think Athena wins.
Oh.
I don't feel like Athena loses this one at all. So which means Aminata will probably win. But yeah, this feels like the least of like, oh, Athena's gonna lose this match. Like, I don't see it. I don't know who Athena's losing to. Billy Starks makes the most sense whenever they decide to go with that, but I don't know when that's actually going to happen. So,
right. That's the whole thing for me is like, that's why I brought up Billy is like, if it's not going to be her, it should be her. But if it's not going to be, I don't know who it could be. And if they want to make someone new, Aminata, I think could be her, but I could also just as easily see Athena continue to retain. I was pretty convinced Billy Starks was going to beat Athena the last time they wrestled, and it didn't happen. So like, it's hard to choose against Athena, obviously. So
I worry what happens to ROH if and when Athena loses, because there ain't much more for her to do in that company. Right now, she's the champion, so she can keep having title defenses. When she loses that title, you would think she'd be AEW main roster bound. And I don't know what happens to really that division and that company if they lose Athena, because she's been holding it all together. She's been the main draw of those shows. And as the champion, great. As the challenger or as someone who moves on, I don't know if they're going to build around Queen Aminata, which I think Queen Aminata is great, but they haven't given people great reason to fully stick around for just her. So,
yep.
But Athena might not lose anytime soon. So it might not matter.
Very true. Very true.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Alex Shelley gave a spoiler alert and it said he might not be returning to West Coast Pro. He does have more indie dates coming up, but it seems like he could be WWE bound, along with Chris Sabin or Motor City Machine Guns. What do you think?
I mean, it's a long time coming if that's what is happening. Have they ever wrestled as a team in WWE? Did they have a match in NXT, or was that the Time Splitters?
No, that was Time Splitters. I don't think Sabin's ever wrestled in WWE unless it was, enhancement type of match.
Like a pop-up NXT thing maybe or something.
Mm-hmm.
I nothing.
Really don't think that ever happened. I'm looking it up right now, but I'm pretty sure Sabin's never. Yeah,
Shelley's popped up a couple times. Like it's maybe just the Time Splitters match, but I feel like he did like a single. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was like that era of NXT. Remember when like Austin Aries and all those guys were coming in? It was just like James Storm had like 2 weeks of matches or whatever. That's where I was kind of thinking maybe around that time.
No,
but
Sabin's never wrestled in WWE. Alex Shelley did an enhancement match a long time ago, and then he only had one television match. He had a couple of NXT live event matches, but that's it.
Okay, cool. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times on this show and on the Weekender, and I mean it every time I say it, whether it's as a tag team or as singles guys. I think the Motor City Machine Guns, both Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, if you want to talk specifically like outside of WWE, they're two of the best ever, in my opinion. And even the whole, worldwide wrestling, everything together, I still would put them on a short list of, all-time best tag teams and like it's hard to explain if you don't follow the indie scene, but guys like Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin have done so much for the indies and they continue to even to this day. Like they're constantly having banger matches against younger talent. They lose to younger talent pretty often and put people over. Alex Shelley had a good run with the IWTV Independent Wrestling World Championship around during the pandemic and stuff. Like I just, not even to mention all the tag team work and all the stuff that they've influenced. When you watch the Young Bucks wrestle, they take some of their moves as like an homage to them. They're some of their favorite opponents and stuff. Motor City Machine Guns at this point have done pretty much everything you can possibly do. They popped up in AEW really briefly, right? They had like one AEW match or something, I want to say.
Yeah, they teamed with Jay Lethal, I believe.
Yeah, it was something like that.
That was a weird thing because it didn't make sense in the story context, but it was a cool moment.
But when you look at like TNA, that's the company they've mainly been attached to for so long. And what more could you do? They've won the tag titles 1,000 times. They've both been the world champion, and they've both been the X Division champion how many times? So I'm just glad the WWE is interested in like the timing is right. I know the guys are getting a bit more up there in age and they've got a lot of years on them and a lot of miles on them, but they're going to be over in the WWE system literally from day one. There's enough audience that's already going to know who they are, and then they're going to get over instantly with anyone who doesn't know about them already. So like, I think it's going to be a perfect fit. And there's no harm, in my opinion, of adding a great tag team into the WWE system right now, whether it's NXT, Raw, or SmackDown. They're going to fit like a glove. And then once again, the possibilities are endless because when they're not in a tag team, you can rely on both of those guys in any scenario in a singles situation too. Both as a tag team, as a singles, they could be opening matches to get the crowd going. They could be in the world title match at the end of the show, and it's going to deliver. So like, I got nothing but good things to say about both Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. And I'm happy they're finally, if they are heading to the WWE, I'm happy that it's finally happening. And better late than never.
They would be great in WWE. I hope they get a shot, and I hope they actually revitalize that tag team division, because I don't think the tag team division has been super great for WWE in recent times. They try, and then they just it doesn't really go anywhere. And it looks like the Bloodline are going to win the titles, at least on SmackDown. So we shall see. Jensen, I know you got to run. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yes, you can find me on X at @FightTalk_. Please listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. It's every Sunday, sometimes Mondays. I'm going to do my best to keep doing them on Sundays, but sometimes it's got to be Mondays for various reasons. But I always appreciate y'all for listening to that show, no matter when I drop it. It's covering the world of independent wrestling. So I see a lot of people in the chat mentioning stuff like Defy, GCW, Prestige, DPW, and all that kind of stuff. I cover all of that stuff over on the Weekender. So please check that out. It's only $5 a month. It's like the cheap tier over there. And that comes along with like all the scoops and news from Sean, other podcasts and stuff. So like you get a lot for that $5 a month. And I feel like, if you're already paying that money, you're not listening to the Weekender, give it a shot. It's much different than this show. It's more of like a news type of presentation. I literally just talk into a microphone myself for an hour and just cover as much indie wrestling as I can, give you the results of all the matches throughout the week and the weekend, and try to give you some additional thoughts and do it all within an hour. And I usually cover like 9 or so shows, sometimes more. Over there, I do spoilers, I do predictions, a whole bunch of stuff. So if you like independent wrestling, please check that out over on FightfulSelect.com. Do the Money Dance. I don't know what else. Use code FightTalk on independentwrestling.tv, and I think that's pretty much everything. Next week, I will talk to Wrestle Rumble, but we'll try to get y'all some free Wrestle Rumble entries on next week's show for SummerSlam. And also next weekend, I'll be attending Limp Bizkit Live. So there's a lot going on next weekend for me. I'm pretty excited for this weekend. Should be pretty chill. Good seeing everyone in the chat. I'm already late clocking into work.
Come on, do the CEO dance, Jensen.
I don't even know how that is. This thing?
What do you mean?
CEO. Oh, that thing.
CEO.
All right, I'm clocking. I'm gonna be super late for doing this. Anyways. See y'all. Good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing you, chat. Y'all have a great Thursday and enjoy this interview with myself, Jeremy, and Jameson Shook, your Actions Future Showcase 2024 tournament champion.
Bye, Jensen.
Go, Cody. I'm trying to leave the studio. All right.
There we go. All right. We got Jensen do the CEO dance. I was say, who sent the Church of Tupac? Must be new around here. I do the CEO dance all the time. check out In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, fightfuloverbook.com. CEO dances happen in just about every single week on that show for me. All right, guys, let's get into our interview with Jameson Shook. He just won Action Futures tournament, or SCI Futures, apologies. SCI Futures last weekend. He's got a big couple of weekends coming up. He's running his own show next week. He's 21 years old, just getting started in his career. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this kid coming up in the future. Very fun interview. We went about an hour talking wrestling, talking a little football as well. So here we go. Jameson Shook in the Creator Spotlight.
Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I'm Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is one half of the TWE Tag Team Champions, and he is the 2024 Action Future Showcase Tournament winner. He is Jameson Shook. Jameson, thanks for joining us, man. How you feeling?
I feel great mentally, but physically, no.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just get right into it, man. You had a big weekend. This was 2 weekends ago when you won the Action Future Showcase Tournament over SCI weekend. I was actually planning to be live at Doss Barbecue this past Sunday for the Action show, but unfortunately it got rained out, or the weather was bad and they took the precautions. But I was hoping to see you live there. But you were very busy the other week with all the matches. I guess first and foremost, like, how does it feel to be the winner of the Future Showcase tournament? Because that's obviously a very prestigious tournament that leads to, bigger things, especially in the Southeast.
It feels really good. It feels like, for some reason, like it's the first time I've earned something. Like, feels good whenever you couldn't do something that you've earned. And that medal, it really does mean a lot to me. And everyone came up to me after I won the tournament. They were like, "Hey, this medal means a lot to us." And I go, "Absolutely, it means a lot to me too." And then they kind of explained the whole thing. I was like, "Oh, it's so cool." So knowing what the medal means now, it's so much cooler that I'm the Action Future Showcase winner. Feels really good.
Good. I mean, was it a rough weekend on you physically? I mean, you had TWE the night before, and then you had 2 triple threat matches or 2 3-way matches technically on the next day. So I mean, that's 3 matches in 2 days. I don't know if you did more than that, but I mean, that's still a lot right there. I mean, was it a pretty physically taxing weekend?
Yeah, that weekend sucked. Thursday wrestled the tag match. Day off Friday. Saturday wrestled 3 matches, so there's 4.
Yeah.
Sunday wrestled again, and then Monday wrestled again. So it was hell. But we're here now. Somehow. Taped together, but we're here.
Well, congratulations on winning the tournament. What goes through, what's the process of competing in the tournament and then kind of the aftermath of once you realize you have won and then sort of taking all of that in?
Competing in the tournament, so what was going through my head was why am I here? My body hurts. What am I doing? But then when it hit 3, when I was pinning Anakin, there was so much just came off me. I just felt just this big thing of relief. And again, it felt like the first time I'd earned something. And it's just crazy because I was doing it right before I hopped on here, and I've had 164 matches if you count this past weekend. But yeah, in a year and 6 months, I've wrestled 164 times. That's stupid. No one should do that. And I'm definitely feeling it. But again, it just feels earned, and I'm very happy with it.
Well, I mean, that's a lot, obviously, in a year and a half, and you come from the learning tree of Jaden Newman. We've talked to him multiple times here. I've interviewed him many times throughout his already veteran career, but he's still a young guy, which is wild. I remember seeing him, when he was a teenager. And I know that you're from his learning tree. I know that a lot of your success is in that TWE arena in Red Bank. Can you tell us a bit about breaking into wrestling in your training along with Jaden Newman?
Oh, man. Jaden's been great. Always has been, and for my money, always will be. Jaden is he's more than just a great wrestler. He's just a great dude all around. So I actually help train the beginners a little bit, Jaden's still like the head guy. I'm just there to be used as a body to like, get thrown around and stuff, which I'm fine with. I don't care. But the way Jaden kind of taught me and taught everyone else, it's like it's at our own pace. So like, hey, if you're picking up quicker than everyone else, then all right, we'll ramp it up a little quicker. If you're like, we need to slow it down a little bit, we can slow it down a little bit. There's no one's going to be left behind at TWE when you train, and it's nice because TWE really is a family, and I'm very happy that I'm part of that family and that learning tree. So,
did it mean even more that you had such a big weekend, like in that building, like that it was there?
That's the biggest thing for me. Like again, I can talk about like it's earned. I've got the tag title, which that's cool, I guess. But coming into it, no TWE kid or representative, because Jaden didn't even win the tournament when he was in it. No kid. I believe it was just Manhorn and Aaron Wade, and Jaden didn't win. And those were three like really good wrestlers. And it's beyond me that they didn't win. But doing it in my home base is so just. That made it so much sweeter. Because, like, sure, if I would have done it in front of the high school, that would have been cool. Like, I still won the tournament. I earned something. Like, great medal. Very happy. But doing it at TWE just meant so much more. Way more than anything else.
Can you speak any more to, like, that fan base and also your relationship with Dylan Hales? Because I know that you guys have a little bit of a history. And he's a guy that I respect a ton as far as, like, I mean, even going back to, like, around 2017 or so when I started really finding the stuff he was really involved with, like Southern Underground Pro and a lot of the stuff in the Southeast. He's a guy who, when he starts booking people, when he starts getting really excited about people, I start really paying attention. And you were somebody I know he was excited about like really, really quickly. So what's kind of your relationship with Dylan Hales and also that fan base there?
Dylan Hales, I call him my grandfather because like
right.
He really is kind of like my grandfather in wrestling. But me and him are super close. And it's not even because of wrestling. It's just because of life in general. Because I think most people at TWE, it's like we have all like an emotional connection more than a wrestling connection, which I love because like, again, it's a family and I love it. And the fans too. Like there's people at every show that you will recognize, which I think is awesome. We've joked about the TWE arena kind of being like the ECW arena in our own kind of way. Because you have these recognizable fans, and it's a building that people from Germany or Japan, like 2 weekends ago, want to be at to watch this tournament, and they get there and they love it. I remember when Timothy Thatcher came into the building, which was so weird. Very odd seeing someone like Timothy Thatcher in the TWE arena. But he comes in, he goes, "I love it. This is great. I love it." That's awesome. Like, but yeah, people from everywhere. And TWE, the fan base is so good. Such great people. Even people that like I want to be around are in that fan base, and it makes me happy because everyone's a family, and I love it.
I got one more follow-up for that, and I'll pass it back to Jeremy. But you mentioned Timothy Thatcher and his reaction, walking into that building. What was Paul London's reaction? I know him and Jaden have had a long time friendship, and like I know he's mentored him over the years. What was his reaction? Because I know like the microphone wasn't working during his song and stuff, which was hilarious.
So Paul kind of walked in and was just like, "Oh, okay." And then walked back out to go get us something, came back in. It's like just another building. But again, like people like Paul London being there just adds to that. Like there have been so many people in that building. When you hear the stories, like what are they doing here? Red bank to the sea, but people want to be in that building. Like again, Thatcher, London, Chris Hero was there. Steve Carino. There's just so much history in that building. It's so cool.
Were you around when they were doing Uncharted Territory at all?
Nope.
So that was a little bit before you. Okay, gotcha.
Oh yeah. Okay. I came in like right after SUP ended.
Right. Okay. And that also makes sense. I was gonna bring it up. I don't want to like. I want Jeremy to get some questions in here, but like, so SUP is my favorite independent promotion of all time. I used to live in Nashville, so I used to get to go to those shows in the Basement East, and kind of an extension of that. All these kind of brother and sister companies, like the companies we're talking about, Action, SCI, so on and so forth. You can even extend that to like New South and stuff. But kind of like an extension of SUP has been KOBK, run by Jonathan Mosley, Jumpin' Johnny Mosley, aka Mose, who has been on this show many times as well. And I know you recently competed at KOBK against the leader of KOBK, probably the longest reigning Bone Storm champion, I believe, of Southern Underground Pro. And he hit you with a really sweet cop killer onto the gravel through like a door or something. That was gnarly. What was the experience like with the KOBK crew?
Well, I'm glad y'all thought that was sweet. It didn't feel sweet. No, I love KOBK. I love all those guys at KOBK. Like, started off like weird because like when I first started, I was like very like anxious and wanted to be around everybody. But like now that I've like calmed down in wrestling and I'm like, all right, I know these people. They're just people. I've like KOBK is like one of my favorite groups to be around. Speaking of KOBK and Dylan Hills, they're all except for Brett. They're going to be wrestling on my show in a week on August 2nd. Dylan Hills wrestling still blows my mind, but
Negatively, yeah.
Negatively. But the KOBK guys, man, just great people. Great people to be around. I love every single one of them. And it is like I hate that I miss SUP because I feel like if I was back in the SUP days, I think I would have got along just fine in SUP. But
you would have done great there. You would have done great there. And we've talked to Kevin Q about it. Like, it's not, from what we understand, really what happened is Live Nation took over the Basement East and a lot of the venues, and they just had trouble just getting it booked. It wasn't like they wanted to stop running shows. Like, it was hard to do the venues. And then, of course, the careers of a lot of the guys that are involved, they got their own stuff going on. Kevin Q wrestles every weekend, everywhere, and stuff. So, but you would have done great there. Do you want to do more, like no ring shows like you did for KOBK?
Oh, hell yeah. I want to do every, I want to do every style of wrestling before it's said and done. Now, when said and done is, I don't know. Hopefully far away. But if you watch me wrestle, probably not. Because I do dumb things. But I want to be at the very least average at every single style of wrestling. Like lucha, deathmatch, just straight up chain wrestling. Like, I want to be at the very least average, if not good, at all of that.
You mentioned different styles. You mentioned your show coming up. You're kind of going right into the fire here of a death match against Matt Tremont, of all people. Why? That's all I can really ask. Why?
So the first person I messaged, and I won't give out their name, when I said I was wrestling Matt Tremont, they asked me two questions, or they told me two things. First off, congratulations on winning Futures. Secondly, why? And kind of like to go off it, I grew up a deathmatch kid. I was very into deathmatch wrestling. That's like one of the only things I wanted to watch. I still had respect for regular wrestling. Like, Jimmy Ray's my favorite wrestler of all time. He definitely ain't a deathmatch wrestler. But he was there for me to watch. Tremont, to me, is not just the best deathmatch wrestler on the indies, but I mean, he's up there for best on the indies. Like, and saying that you wrestled somebody that you watched when you were growing up on a show that you're running, obviously having help from other people, but that you're running, pretty cool. So I'm very excited for that one. Nervous, of course, because I'm not even nervous for like getting hit with things, because that's whatever. But like the next day is gonna just suck. And I was an idiot and said, yeah, I'll do a show the next day. So that's gonna suck. But I mean, oh well. I mean, you live and you learn, and I don't learn. So,
well, I hope everything goes well with the death match, so where the next show is good. And so I was gonna ask about getting hit with different stuff, and you said you're not really nervous about anything. We've had a lot of people on here who have been hit with different stuff, and the one that a lot of people are like, yeah, not doing that, is the gusset plates. Jensen knew where I was going with that. Hey,
actually, I thought you were going somewhere else, but the gusset plates is where I thought you were going for a second, because we were talking about SUP. I was in the building. I don't know if you ever heard about the time that Dominic Guarini hit Cabana Mandana in the back of the head with a ring bell. Shoot hit him, and it was devastating. That's what I thought you were going with, Jeremy. No, the gusset plate. Sorry, elaborate. I don't know where you're going with that.
Oh, just any thoughts on gusset plates and willing to do this in the death match?
So I have a suffering hairline as it is. Gusset plates aren't going to make it better. I've taken quite a few gusset plates in my day. Me and Aaron Wade wrestled twice. And, used gussets both times. The first time I got hit with a gusset, I was like, oh, man, that's not that bad. But then I didn't bleed a lot. And then the second time, when Aaron Wade really just knocked it in there, I felt it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't like this. Which then I started pouring. So I was like, okay, cool, I got the job done. I guess the whole weapon thing for me is I really just have no regards. I kind of just do whatever. Because I like being thrown in the fire. Like, you can, I won't say who, but there's a booker that every time he goes, hey, I have something for you, I said, please tell me it's a challenge, because I just want to feel like in wrestling. So I was very, like the match with Moses, I had an action. I go up to him, I was like, hey man, it'd be really cool if you body slam me on the floor. And he goes, I don't want to do that. And I said, trust me, it would be so cool if you body slam me on the floor. He did, and it was cool. It got a nice little sound. It was nice.
Splat.
Look, I respect it. Yes, I respect it. I do want to know, just because you're young. You're 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to know, like, what got you into wrestling in the first place? You mentioned Jimmy Ray is your favorite wrestler, or one of them. And so, like, what inspired just going into wrestling in general?
Oh, just the smaller companies, if anything. Like, knowing that there's a way that, like, okay, when I say smaller companies, at the time, they were like, oh, traction, because of places like Smart Mark Video. Places like CZW and IWA, I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it made me think to myself, okay, maybe I can do this. And then for some strange reason, I watched Backyard Wrestling, and I go, oh, yeah, I can do that. So then I did it, and now I have scars. But then I learned there was a place in Red Bank called TWE, and the rest is history.
Are you interested in maybe one day doing a GCW backyard wrestling event? Because those are always going down on the 4th of July. Yeah.
Oh, of course. You kidding me? I'll use the Roman candles all day long.
Yeah. I'm gonna say you seem perfect for like a fireworks and like trampoline and above ground pool type scenario. So I like that. Are you gonna have multiple death matches on your show? Good for you, because I mean, one sticks out here. I mean, I see Tommy Vendetta versus Braden Toon, and I feel like Tommy Vendetta is, I mean, synonymous with that style. So quite a few death matches maybe going down.
So the way I kind of want to run my show is I kind of want to run it ECW rules, referee's discretion. Everything's referee discretion. But officially, there is technically one death match, which is me and Tremont. There is no holds barred. Dylan Hales and Negative Lee.
Yes.
Every time I see that graphic, I just smile because I go, hell yeah.
Dude, it's great. It's great. Who put those together? Can you say who did the graphics for that?
Carmen Michael.
Oh, the man.
Oh,
the man. Of course, it was Carmen Michael, the Swiss Army knife of everything in independent wrestling. That makes total sense. Well, shout out Carmen. He watches our show. So Carmen, shout out to you. That is a great graphic. You got Dylan Hales looking like he's 30 years older than he actually is. Just super old man energy looking at that camera, and negatively looking just dastardly flexing. I love it. This is great stuff, man. I love the promo by Dylan on social media the other day too, hyping this whole thing up. I'm invested.
Oh, that promo was great.
Yeah.
So where that picture of Dylan is from is actually a birthday show where he wrestled a 7-year-old girl, which is awesome. He got no offense in, of course. He just got destroyed the whole match, and then got beat. It was incredible. All-time match in my eyes.
How's it?
How far
go ahead,
back?
Jason.
Oh, so I was gonna say, like, how far back did you decide, or like, did y'all collectively decide to do Dylan versus Negatively? Because I've seen Dylan mix it up a little bit. Like, I've seen him lock in like a nice, Texas Cloverleaf in the past and stuff like that. But, wait, how far back does the planning for this go? And like, what was Dylan's motivation to be like, you know what, I don't usually do this, but like, this is the right show, the right opponent. Like, yeah, I'm down.
So real quick about the Cloverleaf thing. It kind of started as a joke because Dylan gets really frustrated every time he sees a bad Cloverleaf. Like,
fair.
I've seen him see a bad Cloverleaf on the Crash Course shows that we do, the little student shows, and he'll just take his hat off and walk off, which is great. Hilarious. But Dylan and Lee was booked before I even had the name for the show because I knew that was the match I wanted, and I
love it. For
a while, it was going to be the main event, but it can't be now because I don't want Dylan and Lee wrestling glass. But, yeah, that was booked way in advance. And I go, Dylan, how would you feel about wrestling Negatively? And word for word, he goes, oh, fuck it, why not? So, yeah. And Dylan Hills is the greatest. So, great grandfather, Dylan Hills.
He's the man. We got to get him on the show. I've said that 1,000 times, but he's a guy that I interviewed quite a bit, like before me and Jeremy started doing this together. And I've probably interviewed every other human being in his orbit at this point, but me and Jeremy. And it's like, I always forget, like, I got to hit up Dylan and like actually talk to Dylan. It's been so, I was hoping to see him in action. I was hoping to see so many people at the show this Sunday, and then it didn't wind up happening. But Dylan, if you see this, I will be reaching out to you soon. I hope to get you on the show soon because we gotta hear from you. Maybe coming off of this match with Negatively, we'll try to catch up with him and see how it all went.
Right. I still can't believe that's a real graphic. Like, it still blows my mind.
You touched on a little bit about kind of putting the show together, and you've had some help with it, but like doing this at your age and getting just the experience of running your own show now, just what's that been like?
Oh, Jesus Christ, stressful. There's been times where, like, so at the very beginning, obviously it was just a roller coaster of just going up, 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 and then like, oh, bump on the road. Okay, we got matches. Oh, bump on the road, bump on the road. Very stressful, but I think at the end of the day, when Friday at, God forbid, 10:30 p.m., that's, God, I hope. I booked way too many matches. And that's a lesson I've learned. But by the time that hits, it'll all be worth it. And so, mostly exciting. Very stressful, exciting, but mostly exciting and stressful.
I mentioned I saw Braden Toon on the graphic against Tommy Vendetta on here. I saw a match between you and Braden a while back, maybe a year or so ago at New South. Can you speak a little bit to Braden? He's a guy who we had on fairly recently as well, and I view guys like the two of y'all as kind of like that next crop up of like like the guys in their early 20s who I could just tell or make. Y'all are both the guys who have made like really really solid crowd relationships everywhere you guys are going and appearing regular. So kind of your thoughts on Braden Toon and maybe some other people around y'all's age that you're seeing like really shining right now.
Oh, well, Braden Toon's one of my best friends. We are, I think, we're at every show together. The only show, obviously, GCW. But everywhere else, whether it was New South or his own show for LPW, I'm there. TWE, obviously, I'm there. Action, Toon's everywhere, and he's killing it. And I love that for him. But other guys my age, like Casey Owens, God, he's incredible. He's so good. Anakin rules. Anakin, another one of my best friends in wrestling. Obviously, Aaron Wade's really good. And I don't think he realizes how good he actually is. The Southeast is just so full of great wrestlers. Hunter Drake, Tyler Franks, Tim Bosby. That whole Futures lineup. I would put that lineup against anybody. I know Drake and Franks weren't in it, but that whole lineup, all 9 of us, I'd put that against anyone. Which is funny because me and Dylan were talking about it, and like, he even said that this is probably his favorite lineup. because of how like unpredictable it is and like just how good everyone here can be when they're on their game. Joseph A game, Death Royal, like everyone. Mackenzie Morgan, like geez,
Yeah.
The Wall, Fluffman, like that whole field, incredible.
Yeah, you really. I mean, I think you're right on the money. I mean, that I was actually surprised because one of the matches you're kind of talking about from the Future Showcase was the Wall versus Fluffman versus Bosby, and I knew by far the least about Bosby of those three, and I was really, I mean, I'm always impressed by like Fluffman got over with the crowd and especially like action and stuff like just so quickly. And in the Wall, there's so much potential. I thought for sure, well, one of those two guys is going to win because Bosby hadn't really been on my radar. But then I was like, damn, this guy's great too. Like even the people I didn't even really know much about going into it, which is pretty rare at this point because I try to keep up with this. And I was like, damn, like they're still finding people I don't know about and they're this damn good. Like, I mean, the talent pool is just insane right now. And you mentioned Hunter Drake and Tyler Franks. I remember those guys when they were the team, the Talladega Knights, like, and then like now they're, Hunter Drake is popping up everywhere. He just got a pretty big win over the weekend at GCW. Tyler Franks is the New South champion. Like they're the progression of you guys nowadays. It's like, it's just really, really cool to see, especially because we have like IWTV and Fight and all the Triller now and all these different platforms where we can watch y'all every weekend at this point. It wasn't like this years ago.
Yeah. And another one I forgot to mention, I can't believe I forgot to mention this person, Finesse, my tag team partner.
Of course. Totally plastic.
I'm dumb. I'm so sorry, Finesse, if you're watching this. Finesse just racked a huge win that weekend too by winning the first ever Action Futures Gauntlet and being the first entrant in the Action Futures tournament for 2025. Also that weekend, Finesse became the return of the Crux Tri-State champion. Finesse winning that title, and Finesse currently one half of the TWE tag champions. Finesse has had a huge rise. Finesse has also been everywhere. Effie's Big Day Brunch. I know Finesse mentioned something about going to California soon. I'm very happy for Finesse. I also think Finesse is great. I feel so dumb I forgot Finesse. But,
no, it's okay. It's one of those things where sometimes like, when I like lose something in my apartment or something, I'm like, it's like right in front of me. I've just looked at it so many times and it's like, I stop appreciating because I'm just like, oh yeah, it's like, I'm just so used to that being around. With Finesse, what was the process as far as like y'all teaming up together? Because I think you're a great team, and Finesse is another one of those people that Mo's got me on like really early. Like he was talking about Finesse, like you got to keep your eye out. And I was like, and I saw the instant connection with the crowd as well with them.
Well, it started as a joke. Someone had mentioned the name Totally Shook at training, just offhand, and I was like, hey, I like that. And then we just kind of ran with it, and then things happened. Like, we started teaming more on the shows on Saturdays. I was like, hey, we got something here. Like, let's keep going. Even Dylan was like, hey, we got something here. Everyone else behind the scenes was like, hey, we really have something here. And then it kind of started with the matching paint gear at Nightmare on Dayton Boulevard, where we won our first set of tag titles. And then we lost them. And then we came back with a theme song. We won our second set that we still hold to this day. So if we lose our belts again, we have to come up with something. And like, I don't know, like matching jackets. I'd love to have a Finesse jacket. Because those things are cool. And then get them back a third time. But it just started as literally like an offhand thing. But now it's just taken off. And now it's everywhere. New South, Retinal, hopefully Action soon, and literally everywhere. I just want to be everywhere.
What have been your experiences like at Action so far? Like I mentioned, you were supposed to be doing the show on Sunday. I know you wrestled Adam Priest there recently. What's your overall just experience at Action and under Matt Griffin? I think he does great work.
Matt Griffin will give you opportunities. He'll give you opportunities to succeed, and he will throw you to the wolves when you start. And I'm very appreciative that he did. My first match official on Action was Manders. It wasn't my best showing, which is fine because I wasn't even a year in yet, which is fine. But then I came back. He gave me a scramble that included guys like Rob Killjoy and Cody Fluffman. Okay, that's cool. The next scramble I had Aaron Wade, Braden Toon, Jaden Newman, Big Dave, and Takuri. Okay, even better. And then I wrestled Warhorse. And I wrestled Priest. And I wrestled Moses, who I'm so happy I convinced to let him body slam me on the floor. Then I was supposed to wrestle Wall. Obviously, that didn't happen. At a church show that was not seen, I actually wrestled Alex Kane for the Action title. So Matt Griffin will give you opportunities. It's just up to you to succeed. And I love that because it puts a challenge for you. And as I said, I love challenges. So it makes me happy.
Al, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. You've done commentary as well.
Unfortunately, I have done.
Okay.
Oh, I hope you didn't watch that work. That was terrible.
Well, I don't want to say that I didn't study up, but I've not seen the actual work. I just saw that you did commentary. Now I feel like I have to go back and watch it though, because you're not selling it as being good, but I like kind of bad stuff as well as my favorite kind of wrestling. So
if you like bad wrestling, we're gonna be best friends. If you like bad wrestling, I can find you some bad wrestling. My commentary is in it. My commentary is the bad wrestling, but yeah.
I will have to check this out because everybody nowadays is like a good wrestler for the most part. You know what I mean? Like everyone does a good 3-star, 4-star match. I don't do star ratings, but everyone does good wrestling. Find me the terrible stuff. That's the stuff that I want to watch.
I can find it for you. Don't worry. I can find it. Because so this is one of my things with tape studying, because I do like tape study. Everyone likes to study like, all right, great wrestler, great wrestler, great wrestler, great wrestler, or like this match at WrestleMania. The things I study are bad wrestling and house shows, because you can learn how to do a real good match at a house show, and you can learn what not to do by watching bad wrestling, which is way more important to me.
See, this I respect this. I think this is genius, and more people should do this. Is watch the bad stuff, so you learn. No, not doing that, because and especially nowadays, the wrestlers are so athletic. Like everyone can do so many different things, and it's like, all right, you want to try to mix that in? Can I try to mix that in? It's like, no, create your own style of just not shit, and that's how you get good.
Like you say that. I was talking to Jaden at training once. I said, Jaden, I just want to do a shit ton of sentons because I think it's cool. So at that future showcase, I literally did 2 sentons, and they were different sentons, so it didn't matter. And then I do the one in the corner. Oh man, I do a lot of sentons. I need to stop.
Okay, give me some bad matches that you might study that for our audience.
Yeah.
Can go back.
Just throw people under the bus. Like who's the worst? Who's in the worst?
No, I can't do that because then I'll get in trouble.
I didn't know. Okay. I truthfully was not trying to like throw people under the bus. I was thinking like older matches that maybe you watched that it's like, oh, I don't know. That's just like, you can say a 1999 Kane match was awful. Like, no, Kane's not going to get offended. You know what I mean? Like,
who knows? From my own experience, I will give you one. My 4th match I ever had, and we've both agreed on this. Me and Casey Owens had a match at TWE Crash Course. It was so bad. Like, it was Dylan Hales questioning if I should be a wrestler bad. But thank God I'm still a wrestler.
Is that one on IWTV?
No, it's not. It's recorded somewhere. I can find it. I know I can.
All right, this is my new holy grail now. Forget Tom McGee and Bret Hart. This is the match I'm seeking.
Yeah. I'm saying. The main problem with the match was as the face, I ran a heat on the heel who was supposed to run the heat. And I didn't even know it at the time because I didn't even know what heat meant. But now I do, and I'm happy I do. But God, that match was so bad. If Casey's watching, he'll agree with me because he tells me all the time that we had one of the worst matches in TWE history. We're okay with that because we know not to do it again.
So, how many matches did you say that was? Just a few?
That was match 4.
That was 4th. Yeah.
Match 4. So I think that's interesting though, because you're like, I don't know what he was, and we did everything backwards. So like you went through all your training and you got 4 matches in before you're like, wait a second, we're doing this backwards. That's pretty and like to figure that out on the fly is just that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting conversation with Dylan Hales. And Reverend. That was a very interesting screaming conversation, but it's fine.
Oh wait, the Rev was yelling at you after that?
Of course.
Oh dude. Oh, that's in his like tank entrance voice.
Oh yeah.
Oh great.
Terrifying.
Oh, was there footage of that? Did somebody have back there footage? Don't tell me that.
I don't want to see it.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. Like,
no, you're good.
It's all good. Oh man, what are? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say, who are some people that you would like to get in the ring with, and then we'll even throw in what kind of match against them, because you mentioned you want to do a lot of different stuff. So people you want to face, and then maybe a specific match if you have any ideas there as well.
So my goal by the end of the year, and I've made this known to most people I wrestle for, I want to wrestle Carrie Offer, because that is a moment for me. Because that's the guy who helped Jaden become who Jaden is now. And Jaden trained me. So I would love to mix it up with Carrie Awful for that alone. Another one, Gary J. Because I enjoy just getting hit. And my favorite independent wrestler, probably Brandon Kirk. In any match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great list. So, I mean, I feel like all 3 of those are totally possible. Let's see. So, I'm trying to think of when I feel like okay. So Brandon Kirk, that could be any situation. I mean, that could be a death match. That could be a straight up match. I'd like to see y'all in a death match though. If I'm being honest. I think that'd be pretty badass. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, period. But like deathmatch specifically, he's way up there for me.
Oh yeah.
What were the other names? I'm blanking now. I'm just thinking about Brandon Kirk.
Gary J and Carrie Awful.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Carrie Awful, of course. You mentioned Crux earlier. Yeah, Carrie means a lot, especially to the southeast scene. He was massive for Southern Underground Pro for the fan base, and also a lot of his trainees being a part of that show. So yeah, a ton of respect for Carrie Awful. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of who else I would want to see you wrestle like in like the immediate future. But I have all these like death matches in my mind now because of the Brandon Kirk thing. Who else you want to do death matches against?
So obviously John Wayne, which was the original main event of my show, but things happen. Oh well. I mean, things happen. He's at GCW that day, and that's totally fine. I mean, I would do the same thing. GCW, massive show, of course, do that. John, of course. I'm getting the Tremont one.
Right. That's huge. I mean, that's literally, like, I can't think of many names that you could really honestly put above that, like, all time that you could wrestle in a deathmatch situation.
I really can't think of any. I'd love to do Tommy again, Tommy Vendetta, but with ropes this time. That's like his thing. He goes, "We're gonna wrestle again, but with ropes this time." I go, okay, cool. So Tommy, I mean, Reed Bentley would be sick. And I know he hits hard, so good. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Just anyone really.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great list, and I know I didn't highlight him too much just a second ago, but I would like to see wrestle Gary J also, by the way. He's a guy who has been like, I feel like one of the, it's hard to explain. It's like, for whatever reason, he still feels like he's under the radar to me, but he's been around forever. And like, he puts on nothing but bangers. And he's one of those guys, like, he's got like his elbow is over. Like if he hits you in the head with an elbow at any point in the match, you could be done. Like, yeah, he's just one of those guys that I would like to see you mix it up with him as well. So I think that's a hell of a list of people you've got potentially coming up in the future.
Yeah, those are my top 3. Obviously, the list will grow, but for now, those are my that I'm like, hey, I have to do this.
You mentioned, GCW a few times too. Like, have you gotten any kind of inkling at all from anyone involved that they got eyes on you, or like, because I mean, a lot of the people you mentioned are there now, at least somewhat regular. So, I mean, they got to at least know you're around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not that I know of. No one has eyes on me, which is, again, that's fine. I mean, I'm so young in that, like, it's not going to bother me. I know Braden Toon, Hunter Drake, go to all of them. So at some point, I just need to just grow up and hop in a car and just go with them. I just have to.
Well, I mean, I think that's, I mean, just my own personal opinion as of someone outside looking in, I think that'd be great because, I mean, even guys like talk about like Hunter Drake and stuff, but like Bobby Flacco is another one that really comes to mind right now of like, he was really doing his thing in the Southeast, like specifically action wrestling. He got really over there. People got really, really into the thing, hey, people, and then it's like all it took was like a couple GCW appearances. And now it feels like he's there every weekend. And he just got his first singles win over Facade the other day. So like, that's really all it takes, man. Like a lot of the guys that are in your orbit are getting those looks, and this Southeast scene, I think, does such a great job of preparing people to where, like, when that opportunity comes around, y'all are ready. And then the next thing you know, you got another like Balances Forever out there, ruling the whole scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, like, oh man, if GCW ever comes back down south, I might take that weekend and be like, okay, this is where I'm going to be, just to be there. I mean, Violence is Forever. God, what a team. So good. Koo's so good. Watching that Makabe match live with Kevin Koo might be my highlight of the year so far. Minus winning Futures. Yeah, that's up there.
And Koo did that, and he did that injured as well. Yep. Yeah, injured. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the previous week, and then but he still wanted to go through with that because it was Makabe's last match. So yeah, it was that good with Koo not even being 100%.
Koo's a different animal, man. Kevin Koo, very good wrestler.
He's shaved now, so I don't know if he lost his superpowers. He's clean shaven. He looks weird.
I forgot about that.
Oh, he looks really strange. I saw the photo. I was like, what is happening with this?
He does look different, but I mean, I'm not going to tell him because it'll just hurt me.
I won't say it to his face. I'll just say it, on this show.
Oh yeah. He'll find me.
It's funny. It's funny because Kevin Koo is one of, you see it a lot in wrestling, but like Koo is one of the first people that really like epitomizes to me like he's like so the opposite of like he's such like a mild-mannered, like just like polite, just almost like quiet guy, like but like when that bell rings, he is the most violent MFer on the planet. I love how people have that switch. It's super interesting to me.
That's how Tremont is. Strangely enough, you first meet him and he's very quiet. Just hey, hi, how you doing? Gets in, very respectful towards everyone, and then separate ways hits, and then something just clicks. And I've seen it happen many a times. Like when I was at H2O once, he was like being nice to everybody right before his match, and then he just sits in a chair and his song plays, and then you can just see it in his face. It just clicks, and then whenever it drops, he just stands up from his chair and just walks straight out. It's terrifying, but I love it.
We've never had Tremont on the show, but of the stories we've heard from him, he's like the nicest, most helpful guy in the world. And then, you watch him wrestle, and it's like, that can't be the same person who goes out there and does that.
It's somehow, by some miracle, that is the same person. And that is the same person.
Jensen, do you have more wrestling stuff? Because I got to ask about the Steelers country and all the Steelers paraphernalia in the background here.
Yeah, I'm down to talk some NFL for sure. Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Well, my team sucks. Jensen's team's the Vikings, so
they're going to be good. They're going to be good. We got this.
I've said my team's going to be good many times.
I have no disillusions. I'm a Panthers fan, no disillusions. We're gonna suck this year. At least we have our first round pick, so we can maybe have the first overall pick and not, just give it to the Bears. But
it's something to look forward to. First overall picks.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping for 500 or better. Keep the streak alive.
I feel like the Steelers will just always be 500 or better as long as Tomlin's the coach. Like no matter what, like that's their baseline.
I mean, I'm happy with it. Sometimes 500 gets you in.
How are you feeling about the quarterback situation?
Oh, Russ and Fields? I mean, I have to tell myself sometimes every couple of days that, hey, Russell Wilson's won a Super Bowl. We have a shot. But then I remind myself of what happened last year with Russell Wilson, or the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, we can have a shot.
No, were you a Kenny Pickett person when you got picked?
When we picked him, absolutely. Him and Malik Willis, I wouldn't have cared. I would have taken either or. But I was definitely a Kenny guy. And then he came in. And which his first year he did fine. Then his second year happened, and oh no. It was like a roller coaster, but going the other way. Kenny would have been a great third string quarterback, you know?
My friend warned me about him before the draft. The Panthers are picking like around 10 or so, and he's like, you guys don't want to take Kenny Pickett. And he's a Steelers fan as well. And so when they took Kenny Pickett, I was just like, this is your worst night. This is karma for you right here. He was against them the entire time. And I think the happiest day on earth was when they got rid of Pickett this offseason.
Was it Jarrett Bailey? Was that who
yeah, Bailey.
To?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
I will say this about Russell Wilson. To be fair, last season he actually really wasn't playing that bad. He just got in that weird thing with their management where like they didn't want to pay him out his money because they were afraid like if he got hurt on the field, they owed him more money and all this. It was like political BS. Like he really didn't even play that bad. So like I mean, if I were you, I'd think like it's definitely an upgrade. At least you got a shot. And then, I mean, and then Fields, if all else fails, I mean, at least you got some options there. So I think that's a pretty decent spot to be in. And then Tomlin, man, that's one of the worst for me as a Vikings fan because he was a coach for the Vikings for like a season or two years ago. And instead we went through this just carousel of just clown coaches of like Brad Childress and Mike Tice and Leslie Frazier and all these guys that were just terrible, huh?
Mike Tice.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Oh, dude. All of them are they're so bad. I can just rattle off all these. I mean, the most recent one was Mike Zimmer, who totally lost the team eventually. And so, see, I like Kevin O'Connell and I like our new GM Questi Adolfo. Like I like that they're younger guys and like they're bringing a different vibe to the organization. I just think as a Vikings fan, it's just so funny what happened to Kirk Cousins because I was a Cousins fan and the dude just he couldn't live with the idea of us drafting another quarterback. Kirk Cousins would have been the starting quarterback for the Vikings this season and probably again next season. And instead, he went to Atlanta, and what would have happened to him in Minnesota is happening to him already right now when they drafted his successor, Penix. So, like, as a Vikings fan, I'm actually pretty excited for our future. Like, I think Sam Darnold might have a decent year potentially, and I'm excited for J.J. McCarthy for the future. I mean, listen, we got Justin Jefferson. As long as we got him, we got like a shot at something, I feel like. But yeah, I like that we're able to talk some football. Jeremy, you feeling good about your Panthers at all, man? I feel like we might get Adam Thielen back. I think they're trying to squeeze him out of the team already.
I feel like we can't be worse than last year.
No, you can't.
Dave Cannella seems like a good coach. Like he did well in Tampa Bay, kind of turning things around with Baker. He did well in Seattle, turning things around with Geno. So the offense looks a little bit better. The defense, I have a lot of concerns about. The division's not great, but we're not going to be good. But at least we have our first round pick. So if we're bad, we at least benefit from it. Where last year we were the laughing stock of the league and we didn't even get to draft first overall out of it. Like just the most miserable experience you could imagine.
Yeah, I think that y'all are smart at least to like attempt to build around Bryce Young. Like they're at least trying to give him a shot with like one, but I know, but I'm just saying like they made the moves to where like they got young receivers, like they're at least trying. But you know, like I've said before, I'm a huge Adam Thielen fan, so like I feel kind of bad for him because I think he's gonna get. I think they're going to either trade him or cut him, if not this year, but by next year, like, because they're definitely going younger with Carolina. But
we got Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, who he seemed to do well last season. Kenny Pickett. Oh, you're not a
yeah. See,
the numbers are good.
After the
we had no receivers last year. Nobody could create. Thielen's fine. But nobody could create separation. Nobody could get open. We didn't have a line either. At least Deontay Johnson looks like he can create a little separation and get open. So he's better than what we had last year.
Deontay's a really good pickup for Carolina.
He can't be worse than the receivers we had last year. Simply can't be.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I've watched a lot of Steelers football. Yes, he can.
I mean, I believe you, but I'm gonna. And look, the Panthers haven't been good since the prime days of Cam Newton, so not much going on, honestly.
Yeah. Any other sports or athletes that you're into?
I mean, every Pittsburgh sports except college. College is weird because it's Florida State. And last year sucked. Being so good, going undefeated, and winning a conference that is a top 4 conference in the country, and not even getting into the playoffs, which is very annoying. And for a little bit, I became a shooter when I was wrestling because I was so mad. Like the first 2 weeks, I was like, man, just put us in. And after that, I was like, I'm fine.
Seeing opponents as 70-year-old men on the selection committee out here.
I mean, hey, don't make a mistake like that ever again. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, any Pittsburgh sports. I mean, Pirates with Paul Skeens right now, killing it. Penguins will always be good.
Long as Sydney's there, long as they're getting up there though. I'm a hockey guy myself.
Yeah, they're getting old.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, I'm super out of the loop on baseball nowadays. But what is his name? Skeens, the pitcher.
Yeah. Paul Skeens.
He got on my radar because I'm a big collector. I collect action figures and trading cards and stuff, and I'm constantly on Whatnot, and I watch all these box breaks constantly. And Skeens, I saw it become like really valuable recently. I was like, who is this guy? Oh, okay, he must be absolutely killing it.
Just throws heat, nothing but gas.
He just started tonight.
Yeah, he did.
And we did great. So I'm fine with it.
Jameson, before we wrap up here, one thing we like to ask everybody on this show is, what is the coolest thing in your room?
In my room?
Yes. And if you can show us, even better.
Oh, I've got it right here.
You can.
We figured it'd be the trophy.
The Future Showcase medal. Or it sits on my dresser, my TWE Tag Team title.
There you go.
Very cool.
Those are the coolest things I have. And I have a poster from that Future show. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Can't argue that.
It's even cooler when the medals sit next to it.
Yes. What's last question for me? I know you mentioned some future goals, but any like long-term goals? I mean, is there like a wrestler out there like you like grew up a fan of that like you think maybe years down the road you might be able to wrestle, even if it's like completely hypothetical, like maybe some other dream matches, or maybe like do you have aspirations eventually, to wrestle in a company like the WWE or AEW? Like, is that like the long-term goal for you?
So funny enough, I had the same conversation with Jaden Newman like a couple weeks ago. And at that time, well, not even a couple weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. At that time, no, I had none. But that's like because I went through a mini phase where I hated wrestling because I was like, man, my body hurts. But then I realized, oh, it's my fault. I definitely have aspirations nowadays of getting signed. Where to? Anywhere, and I'll be happy. The one that's like the most possible to me right now and is like a dream scenario is Impact, because just go there, do some tapes, and then have indies and still do the things I want to do. But obviously king of that is WWE, because of course it is. It's WWE. Like, people grew up watching that. I mean, I didn't pay attention to it, but other people did. So yeah, those are probably mine. If like in a dream match scenario, Jesus Christ. I don't know if it's possible. Genuinely, like, because how long he's been wrestling. But again, going back to deathmatch, I think me and Nick Gage would be very fun.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I could say I get to wrestle Nick Gage, would be sick, of course. But just the aura around him. When the bell hits, for whom the bell tolls, people know who it is. Super cool. So that would probably be mine. Signed, WWE match, Nick Gage, obviously deathmatch. But yeah.
So I almost brought up Nick Gage earlier because I was actually surprised he was omitted from your list. I didn't know if there was like some heat there or something. I was like, I'm surprised he didn't mention Nick Gage, but okay, threw it out there at the end. I totally redeemed himself. Okay.
Oh, no heat at all. No heat at all. Dude, Nick Gage, absolute man. I didn't say it earlier because like I don't know how much longer Nick Gage is going to be wrestling.
Sure.
Hopefully long enough to where I can get this. It'd have to be a GCW, of course.
Yes.
That's probably my shortest long-term goal I have right now is getting to GCW, being a regular there. Would love to be in a tournament of survival one day because of who I am, which is strange to say. But yeah, those are my goals. I didn't have goals like a month ago, but now that like Futures happened, I'm picking up steam and moving all around the Southeast, even like up in Jersey with H2O or Flophouse in Michigan. I want to be at Wrestling Open. Like there's things I want to do, but like doing them is a completely different story.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do, man. Like you mentioned H2O, I'd love to see you mix it up with Marcus Mathers in particular, out there. Obviously I'm looking forward to you in Tremont. This is my last question for you. What do you remind me, what do you call your finishing move? Do you have a name for your finisher?
Oh, so I have two finishers. And I'm
talking about the assault driver. I'm sorry, but that one first.
Oh, that one's the assault driver. But then I have another one where I pick them up awful waffle and put them here and DDT them.
Yes.
I call that the sorry mom driver because sorry mom is so funny. It makes me laugh.
Yes, I just wanted to ask the reasons you chose those moves as your finishers, because they're both brutal on the fan.
Oh yes. Assault driver again. Grew up CZW kid, so Sick Dick Mondo. And it's just a great looking move.
Yes.
And then the sorry mom driver was an accident, but it happened, so it's okay.
Dude, that's actually the lore of the DDT is that Jake the Snake accidentally invented that move too. He put someone in like a guillotine and fell, and that was the creation of the DDT. So I mean, there you go. In good company.
DDT is a great move.
Yeah, it is.
Jameson, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Let everybody know where they can find you at, what you got coming up.
Oh, or you can find me at Twitter, jshook_75. Instagram, I hope I get this right, Jameson_Shook. Spelled my way, JAMESEN, because why have it easy? And shows, I mean, anywhere in the Southeast, you'll probably see me.
Hold your own show. Make sure to hold your own show.
Own show, of course, which is, I guess when this comes out, will be 9 days away. Which is tomorrow.
Yeah, this will be tomorrow morning. So yeah.
No, Thursday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thursday morning. I'm sorry. I thought today was Wednesday. Thursday morning. I apologize.
Then in 8 days, Yes, because a week is 7, right? In 7 days or 8 days, I'm messing myself up now. In 8 days, good for you. Massive lineup, incredible lineup coming out. Annika Murphy Open Challenge, Toon, Tommy Vendetta, me, Matt Tremont, Dylan Hells, and not Braden Toon, Dylan Hells and Negative Lee, Reed Bentley and Jaden Newman, KOBK versus ADS. The Incarnation Gauntlet returns. Sup?
Let's go. By the way, for people that don't know what the Incarnation Gauntlet is, it is a gauntlet match where every fall is a different stipulation. So it is a cluster F of a match, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, and Casey Owens, Enrico Gonzalez, and Aaron Wade and Malcolm Monroe III are the announced matches, which there's only one more match to announce, which that'll come out Friday. So, yeah. Tomorrow, I guess.
There you go. Awesome.
Jameson, we appreciate you joining us. All the links are below in the description, everyone. So if you didn't catch it, click on the links below. Links to socials, links to the show, any information on that, you can check that out again below. Jameson, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And guys, we'll be right back here on the spot. We're back. Big thank you to Jameson Shook for hanging out with us for over an hour, talking about, again, SCI Futures, his victory there, running his own show next week, deathmatch against Matt Tremont. Kid is 21 and doing death matches against Matt Tremont. Like he said it, he's going to do what he can while he's here. So he was a lot of fun. And again, you look out for him in the future. A big thing coming up in his future. Guys, we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat with us, watching the show, leaving a thumbs up on the video, subscribing to the channel. Head over to fightfuloverbook.com. More content over there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern in the Weeds with myself and Joel Pearl talking all the news in wrestling. Rob and Maggie coexisting. Maggie's always in the chat here. Coexisting 3 p.m. Eastern every single Friday over on Fightful Overbooked. We got Indeed with Mike and Reg. Sean Ross Sapp was on that show yesterday. That is 6 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday on Fightful Overbooked. So go check out all the shows we got over there. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Enjoy the weekend. There's ROH on Friday night. There's Collision as usual. There's SmackDown as usual. There is Battle of the Belts, where there's a match announced that's not for a belt. So we'll see if belts are actually on the line on that show. Who knows? The titles never change hands anyway, so does it really matter? It's just a name. What's in a name? Title. The name of titles change. The shows can change. It's fine. Battle of the Belts is on Saturday. Yes, that's a thing that's happening for those that did not know. ROH, SmackDown, Collision, plenty of indie wrestling. Everyone check it out. We'll catch y'all next week here on The Spotlight. Bye, everyone.